And we are live. Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. I am TruePowerIsMine. We have Dimebag in the house, and we also have our special guest, Dr. Randy Shorts, in the house. You guys are there?
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
Today's date is February 1st, 2019, the year of our Lord. And this is the Other Morning Show. I want to tell you, everybody, thank you. We have been having a tremendous year, and I just want to give a brief overlay. Dr. Short, I really didn't find your bio. I just want to let everyone know that you're basically a political activist seeking out a black nationalist agenda, right?
Yes.
And
a conservative nationalist.
Conservative nationalistic views. I know a lot of people are like, oh my God. No, if you really listen to what the good doctor's saying, it makes sense on a very practical level, because we have to remember, at the end of the day, a lot of folks around the world do not like black folks from America. That's just the simple reality of it all. So with that being said, Dimebag, do you have anything to ask the doctor real quick?
When you say conservative, like in what ways? Because I kind of cringe when I hear like black nationalists and conservative. I cringe. It's like nails scraping across the chalkboard. Well, that's easy for people who have they accept everybody seeing themselves as a group, except for people who were genocided or enslaved in the United States. Right. And all of a sudden there's a concern. So if people cringe, wonderful. I cringe at the N-word. I cringe at inferior schools, poison water, eugenics, mass incarceration. I cringe all day long at things people are very, very comfortable with. I cringe at feminism. I cringe at Me Too targeting black men as the number one predators when who's been raped and exploited since time immemorial. So,
a black woman.
It's a free country where people can cringe, and so they can cringe at the idea of black people defending themselves after 150 plus years of racial terrorism, from the KKK to law enforcement under the cover of law. So we cringe all the time, and it's time for other people to accommodate us, and we will not ask people. We'll just have to live with it. And I can go on and on by things we cringe by. Black women newscasters being fired over their hair. That's natural, okay? And yet, other folks, please. So that's one thing. And conservatives, well, why not? The state of New York celebrates the fact that they can kill almost live babies.
Yes.
Disproportionately black and brown. And so New York, which was established off of the selling of the bodies of black and indigenous people, okay, now they considered progress, but they're going to sell the brains and the guts of murdered black babies, and that's social progress. If that doesn't make you cringe, if that doesn't disturb you, why would I care how anyone feels that's not insulted or doesn't have a sense of humanity to be offended by that?
Yes.
In fact, anyone that doesn't cringe by that has to be some kind of a Nazi or sicko or a racist or an existential Luciferian. So I can't apologize. I don't apologize for existing. There's white nationalism, which has a global reputation for intolerance, for violence, for a range of things. Black nationalism has been affiliated with freedom, justice, school lunch, minimum wage, everything that you benefit from, and I can document that historically, often, if not almost exclusively, comes from people who are black in coalition with thinking whites, the few that they may be now and then, everything good has come from folks with that perspective, including those blacks who fought in the American Revolution, all the way up to whatever ignorant wars we have now fighting for Israel. Fact.
Continue, Doctor?
Yes.
I mean, you're right on. Right now, the TV viewers, I went to Drudge Report, the story of the day, VA governor, yearbook drama, blackface or KKK. Totally went with what you were talking about right now. There is an organization out against us, whether we want to accept this fact or not. That's just the reality. What the good doctor, in my opinion, is saying that we need to come together for common cause and common purpose, or else economically we will go the way of the dodo bird.
Right. And we're headed that direction. There was a news article, I can't remember the source. I think it's a Boston Globe. You know what the worth, the net worth of the average black person in Boston, Massachusetts is?
What?
$8.
Wow. $8 measly dollars.
Exactly.
That's what you were.
That can't be an accident that it's $8. And that's the same city in which Peter Salem, a black man, shot dead the officer by the last name, I believe, Pitcairn, on the Battle of Bunker Hill. One of the most significant things that happened in the early portion, where Mr. Cheswick, if I have the right name, who rode with Paul Revere to the right cities. Paul Revere went to the wrong places. You don't know about the black man, but you do know about the white man that went to the wrong places. That's America for you.
Or the first black man to die. You know, like you just said.
Yes, Crispus Attucks.
Yes.
Who, by the way, Attucks isn't an English name. Attucks is a indigenous American name. In other words, he's a black Indian.
Right.
So we've always been here. This is our land 2 times.
Yes. That's what I want people to see, Doctor.
This is our land 2 times. And like Crispus Attucks, I am just as much indigenous American as I am black American, which I'm completely happy with. But I know what my grandfather and my grandmother and my aunts and my mother look like relative to my father.
Correct. So, Dimebag, you still
I'm
there?
there.
Okay. Did he answer your question about being cringy?
No, because see, like me personally, I'm not against abortion. So, I mean, like when I hear like white nationalism, it makes me feel like the same thing as like if, like with the decline in white society. When I hear a lot of people say black nationalism, it makes me seem like they want to grab control and then implement the same stuff that white people did. So we find ourselves in the same quagmire. I feel sorry for that logic when the only thing I can think of, in fact, that the only excess that one could have with the so-called black nationalism, you mean when the communist ideas and socialist ideas, which are from white folks, are introduced to black folks who go with ideas that are not indigenous to us. And as far as things talking about taking over, I don't see people having an issue. I really don't, with people invading this country by the millions, stealing Social Security numbers, taking over neighborhoods, taking whole industries, whatever. And folks are at complete peace with this kind of not speaking the language, not having any interest in the flag, whatever. Everybody's nationality is respected, except for this one. It's got to be some kind of black self-hatred, or if you're something else, a type of anti-black racism. Everybody can get or have in America except for this group. And so take over or steal, no disrespect. If my folks were here first, and this is where we're from, and you have a problem with me having something, you intellectually and morally, your cringe is based on something that's more reprehensible than what you fear, that you don't understand that I'm talking about. So we're going in a circle. We're going in a circle. And abortion, which you may not be against, but I am, when it's targeted to exterminate a people,
yes,
and it is, if you're at peace with that, forgive me, in spite of your cringe, you've got a major moral ethical problem in as much as this government has an agreement to be against genocide. It signed the Anti-Genocide Convention. And one of the premises is that the United States, no other country, can or should fund any population control agency or group. The United States violates that. It has an Office of Population where it has worked to reduce the black population for over 50 years in this country. And it also funds Planned Parenthood and other initiatives that are targeted at reducing the black population. And that is a fact.
But can I ask you
if you no, let me finish. If you support genocide, and you're talking about cringing, and you're talking about cringing, I'm confused.
No. This is part of this show is mine. If I will control who answers the questions or not. Now you're on my platform. If I want to ask you a question, you don't tell me to hold on. Now we can do this ignorantly or we can do this respectfully, but you're not going to tell me to hold on or I can't ask you a question on my shit. Let's get that straight. Flat out. Period. It don't go no other way. Now you can finish there what you were saying.
Doctor, I think we all can agree that abortion is wrong. I think in context of what we're talking about in terms of black population, we are one of the few populations in the country that we actually need our numbers because we have the older folks dying. We have middle class or middle-aged folks incarcerated out of the political process. And now we're going to turn our attentions to the unborn folks and exterminate them before they even come out of their moms. I think most people can agree that isn't the course that we should take. Now, on respects to what the doctor was saying about every group, think about it now. Here in St. Louis, Missouri, you have the Hill, which is all Italians. You can go to other parts. You got Dogtown, all Irish. You can go, all these people, Chinatown. They got their, in San Francisco, New York City, Chicago, all these areas, every ethnic group, it seems like, and I have to agree with the doctor. They all have space. And we are the indigenous people to this continent, guys, and we are just being utterly shoved out of all space. Period.
But if you don't call out the mechanisms in the community that's causing these problems, then what's the point? What's the point? Because when you look at the statistics numbers, the only black people in this country that are really being oppressed or denied anything are black males. Now I can go and look and pull up stats to show when you look at gainful employees. Is it black people that's not gainful employed, or is it black males? When you look at education, is it black people that's not educated, or is it black males that's not educated? Now, it ain't when you start saying black people, it ain't black people. It's black males. Black males build community. Black males do something. When you look and you look at society today and you see what's going on, who's at the bottom of the totem pole? Black male.
Dr. Short, in your analysis, what can we do to stop this trend, this spiraling out of control that we're in?
I don't have all of these answers. I have ideas. I have things, theoretical ideas that I believe have merit in attempting. I also can point to examples being used by other people that are working for them that we're not doing. And part of the fundamental issue that you just mentioned, black males, well, as long as black men have an issue about being together, except for if they're gay or for sports or for things that are not productive for us, that's at the base of the problem. And by the way, everyone cringes at the thought of black men coming together. Even black men cringe at the idea. So let me answer it this way.
Okay.
Very simply, it's not impossible to understand that people should pool their resources, limited though they may be. People can pool their activities.
Yep.
People can educate themselves, feed themselves, house and clothe themselves, or if not the entire group, those that are willing to work together, help only those that have that common vision, and for those who cringe at the idea of unity, let them suffer as we move forward. Sometimes a sore behind is the best teacher to people who hate their own guts.
You know, about the hating their own guts. You understand, Doctor and Dimebag, that this is all by design. The enemy of us all is the same enemy of the black man, same enemy of the white man, same enemy of the red man. The enemy of us all has a vested interest in ensuring that we, as melanated men and women of North America, stay at the bottom of the economic totem pole. What do you all say on that?
I see what's going on. I'm not some asleep person. I know I'm well aware of the conditions in this country.
Okay.
And it's always been aware. But my whole thing is as far as with the whole abortion thing and all that stuff, if I look at it like could it affect us as a whole?
Of course it does.
As a whole,
56 million people have been killed since I've
it
been
doesn't
alive.
affect me because I'm not going out as a black male making having multiple kids by multiple women. With some of these women that do get pregnant by these by black males, or in no condition of even raising or even taking care of these kids, so you're bringing children into a society where they're doomed from the start. When you look at the statistics, when a black baby is born in this country, he's only got the most likely is only two options he has. He's either going to end up dead or he's going to end up in the prison system. Those are facts. This is not something that I'm making up. From conception, a black male baby, the odds of him being successful or just living a halfway decent life are slim to none. His only two options are the incarceration or the grave. That's a systemic problem because people have failed to call out and to thin the herd, because it's a lot of people that's in the black community. It's a lot of people that's in the black nationalist movement that detrimental to the black community. It's people in your very own group that's detrimental to the black community.
Right.
So what? So if black people is to take over and start running things, or
that's not what the doctor's saying. That's not what the doctor's saying. The doctor's not saying that.
Everybody's going to be treated equally across the board. Because when I talk to black naturalists, they have issues with black people that ain't the same tone of black that they are.
I think what the issue is, it's not the issue that black people rise to the cream of the crop and we do exactly what the white man has done to us. That's not the issue. The issue that the doctor is saying that whether we rise to the cream of the crop or the middle of the crop, we need to rise together. Because if not, we cannot stay on this present course. There has to be some sort of economic understanding that we work together.
Because it's people in our community that is intentionally doing stuff to harm us as a group.
Well, yeah, the minstrel shows. I dig what you're saying. They're killing our image. And
so when I hear black nationalist and black conservative, and I'm not directing this personally towards you, doctor, but when I heard that, I cringed because one of the first images that popped up in my head is Jesse Lee Peters. And I'm just being honest. And I can list the name of other black conservatives that just, when I heard a word, when I heard a black man say conservative, those are the images that come to my mind. Not saying this is you personally, but those type of people like Jesse Lee Peterson, those are the type of images that come to my head when I heard black and conservative. Now I'm no liberal by far. Don't get me wrong.
I don't mean to cut you off. I got a question from Big Easy in the chat room. Ask Dr. Short if he feels any pressure from the academic community after publicly speaking against Bully or YHE Bully. After speaking against the Boule. After you spoke out against the Boule. You got backlash from that?
I'm not in the university, first and foremost, and a lot of people who think openly black aren't in universities because of things like the Boule. So, when you speak up, you're going to deal with them. I do know that when I was teaching and when I was a student, you pay for not being in those groups. That's a fact. And they are arrayed against us.
Could you break down the groups, Doctor? I'm so sorry, but we got a lot of young guys out here who are thinking about going to college on this show. The listeners. Could you specifically talk about who are you talking about? The Greeks, the campus. Who are these people?
If you join the Divine Nine or the Black Greek fraternities, you're effectively joining up with what was created with the Boule. It's like a group of black folks well over 100 years ago that came together to become the ruling class of black folks.
Wow.
And so you've basically got the Masons, and you've got the Eastern Star, and you've got the Greek letter organizations, and they represent an invisible government over black people. And typically, if you see anyone black on a high level, they're normally in one of those organizations. And by the way, they're in the tens, hundreds of thousands. If those folks were really working to help us, to help their people.
Liberate, not help. We need liberation.
Right, we need liberation. Then this wouldn't be so hard to do. But from watching them and from being around and seeing, if you show me something where the Boule is involved, where they dominate stuff in our community that's not bankrupt, the black schools, the black church increasingly, any city where you have a large black political class, you have the same thing. A handful of blacks that have almost everything that do nothing for the many.
Right.
And that is what they have created, a caste system. aside from all the other issues. And one of the things that I want to say, there's a difference between, there are many types of people that would call themselves, nationalists. Okay, Jesse Lee Peterson, I might agree with some of the stuff he says, but if you hate black people and you love white supremacy, you're a coon. Malcolm X is a conservative, was a conservative. To a degree, Dr. King as well. There are lots of people who are heroes to our community that were very strong for family, community, and they had a belief in a monotheistic belief in God that folks needed to live and conduct their lives in a way that they had dignity.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. I deal with Republicans or conservative folks who only care about abortion, but they don't care about Flint. They don't care about mass incarceration.
Right.
They don't care about sanctuary cities. They support open borders. They're essentially white, racist nationalists with brown skin. Right. They've never seen a police slaying that they didn't like.
Oh, God, yeah.
I'm completely the opposite of that. And when I talk about Christianity not being not a white Jesus and not a faith that says that I'm supposed to be somebody's slave or my people.
Look, on this show,
So
Jesus is black.
It depends. The people that are like that hate my guts, and I might dislike them with the same fervor. I love black people.
Yes, sir.
The poor ones in particular, they're the majority. And I know other people like me. There are true people and they're fake people. They're fake believers. They're fake everything. Any true person that says that they are conservative, that's for real. I'm not talking about a traitor to their community.
Doctor,
They
could you
love the
please give
people.
us examples of traitors to the community? Please.
Oh my God! I don't think you guys. I don't have enough time, but I can do two. I can do Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch.
No,
for that
why is
matter,
Kamala
Barack
Harris
Obama.
a traitor? Doctor, why is Kamala Harris a traitor?
First and foremost, Kamala Harris isn't an African American. I'm not mad at her for being whatever she is, but she's not an African American. She never said that. I went to school with her. Her kind of Jamaican hated black Americans in Howard University, and they hate them now. They have a Caribbean president who literally last year, tried to have the police beat black American students that were protesting being discriminated against in their country by blacks from Africa and Caribbean. Okay, and it took the dean of the chapel to prevent Howard police from beating students. In the chapel, in the place of worship of Howard University, the Caribbean president sent the police to beat African American students in their country.
No way. I mean, she's like a Manchurian
it didn't happen
candidate
because
for black folks.
Doctor,
So
since you brought up Cory Booker and Kamala Harris. On the point of Kamala Harris, I'm so glad you said that she was an African American because I've been saying that for a long time. This woman was raised in Canada. Her daddy was from Jamaica, and and me personally, I think we should, if we're going to put a label on black people in this country, instead of African American, it should be descendant of slaves instead of African American.
But what about the black Americans that were always here and not enslaved? There's two segments to us. We're not all just slave descendants. Some of us are the original people of this continent descendants that were never enslaved, but they still enjoyed the same fruits of segregation and racism as the descendants of slaves have.
Now, and this is so. It's because the terms are loaded. It's hard to say. That shows you there's a term called hegemony. We're speaking in their language.
Yes.
Then we're handicapped talking about who we are because they define the terms that we use.
Yes.
If you say African, that lifts every person that flew over here that may hate our guts within the last 30 years is in the same group as me, which is not. I don't hate Africa. I've been to 17 countries in Africa. I have love for Africans who have love for me. I have roots in Africa. I'm comfortable, but I also know that I was born here, and I've had family here for thousands of years. And I've had family that recently came from Africa and from Haiti here. But we are a people. I try to use the term indigenous African or indigenous black or whatever, but we are both and, not either or. Kamala is neither nor. Barack Obama was neither nor. Loretta Lynch is a Greek. Eric Holder is a Barbadian. A lot of these people that you see, Susan Rice is a Jamaican. A lot of these people are not even Black American, 2 generations in their family. They are like a lot of people that are being put up. Trevor Noah is a South African half-breed, not an African American. I'm not mad at him. Surely he is, I guess, of African descent, but he is not in the same ethnic group as me. And I'm not mad at that. Doesn't mean he's a bad person. It just means he's a different kind of person in the world that happens not to be white.
But he understands, Trevor Noah and every other member of the melanated family understands global racism. They understand global prejudice. And they understand the media has purposefully, gentlemen, killed our image so that when it's green lighted to go ahead and kill us, the average man, woman, or child can put a bullet to our brains and not kill a human in their mind, but merely kill a savage beast.
Now, Doctor, we know the conditions of the people that we're talking about, and when you look at what I see, one of the most critical pieces of that puzzle and why the community is in the situation that it's in, it's because of the lack of ability of the male in that group. And I feel like before we can even start building a foundation for generations to come of young women and men that look like us, we have to, it's like at dire need at this point. We have to do something to get black males on track like lightning speed. Because this is like dire situation. I mean, all you have to do is just walk around your community. Have the average. If you walk up to the average 16-year-old black male in this country, he can't read on the 7th grade high school level. Mm-hmm. He can't. And
right.
And if you can't read, if you can't read as an adult, you can only read on the 7th grade level. What economic opportunities are you really going to have?
Well, can I interject something and say to you, there are millions of people who are employed in the United States who can't read and write.
Yes.
And they're Spanish speakers.
Yes.
And they get the jobs that black folks who couldn't read and write used to have. So, and I can say to you, blacks with PhDs are 2 to 3 times more likely to be unemployed than whites with PhDs. So I'm all for literacy. I'm all for people knowing how to read and write.
But that's not the answer.
However, I'm going to say to you, in a society that has dumbed everything down, that's bringing jobs from Asia, where people can go to the factories without knowing how to read or write, the issue, we've often made education the answer. In reality, education is not the answer.
Yes.
Economics and sovereignty is the answer.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of times we're dealing with symptoms of a larger problem of not being free.
Yeah.
People may cringe at the idea of nationalism or nation, but every single solitary ethnic group strives for sovereignty and self-determination and to control and dominate against every other group. It's just bad when black folk do it, even in the minds of black folks. And the issue is, many of the people who are faking calling themselves nationalists, which means we should cringe at the phonies. We should cringe at the people that want for everybody to be a god and for them to enslave black people and call that black nationalism, or make them sell pies or papers, hint, hint. And I'm not knocking anything good that comes out of these types of groups, anything good. But the negative things that they want to enslave black people for the individual gain, and that includes churches, where the pastor is rich and his family is rich, and the people ride the bus to church and he rides a Rolls Royce. This type of crony, vulgar, predatory, gain for the few that has masqueraded as black advancement, whether they called it black nationalism or fake black conservatism or fake Christianity. These are the things that we have to guard against. All right? I don't like that. I'm against that. I cringe when I see someone say that such and such a group is a black nationalist group, and the people at the top of it are rich and its followers are poor. When I look at people who demonstrate a type of nationalism, I look at, say, American Jews, or I look at certain ethnic groups where they look out for their own people. They may have money, but they pool it and the money is shared within that community. We do not have that presently, that model. And in fact, at the core of it, if I can just use my ugly term, the black men have a system that I call brotherfucker. We hurt and hate one another. Black men are trained to be against each other, to not advocate, to not be concerned. You can be one of those people in school that's 15. I can remember being 15 in school, and I can assure you the main people who never tried to teach or help me were my black male teachers, the few that I had. They would help the girls and also try to screw the girls. And I literally had a teacher communicate to me spending any time or attention on you as a male is gay. Me giving the girl an A when she's a C student, giving you an A student a C, I'm making you tough, but I gave her the A. We black men have been taught to hate and be against each other, which means we've replicated male lifestyle, an ideology of what it means to be a black man that you tear down and destroy other black men. How else can we explain the high rates of shootings and homicides amongst us other than there's an incredible amount of hatred and rage towards one another that is socially accepted and endorsed, whether it's rap music or by the laws that I can shoot 4 or 5 black men and keep getting released from jail. Let me hit a white woman and never get out. And this is acceptable to black men, that we can hate one another and fight one another, act like pimping our women makes us men, or their women outnumber us 2 or 3 to 1, and we're still fighting over women like there's not enough to go around. This is normal. This is celebrated even in the church, in the houses of God. Black men hating and not working together is how we've been conditioned. So we don't pool our money, we don't come together, we don't support one another, and our anger, and we don't look out for our women or our children or defend each other from our knuckleheads. So we have a predatory, suicidal concept of what it means to be a man.
Now, Doctor, you brought up so much stuff. And there's so much stuff going through my head. But how much time do you have?
Enough? He has enough time. Fuck that. Listen, the doctor said was real, dude. We got to get on fucking point, man. There's no more time.
I got a bunch of questions. So the first question I'm going to ask, and it goes back because when I brought up the whole education part, and you touched on education, and that's important to me, how do you get the younger generation that's coming up behind Gen X, the millennials, and the generation after them, how do you educate these boys to break them? Because this is a behavior, the way that they behave. So how do you break that behavior pattern to get them to do the things that needs to be done, so we don't be looking up 20, 40, 50 years down the road and we're really looking at an extinction for real?
Black people used to have mutual aid societies. They used to, and these were typically started by black men to help all black people, but in particular to make certain that black men had something. And those groups had things for young men, whether it was sports or drum and bugle corps, or they had things where they taught people skills, and they made certain that people knew how to read. If you've ever worked in education or worked with black youth, sometimes it's astounding. You'll go, and a lot of times black men aren't there. Sometimes it's because black men aren't concerned, not always. Then there are other times that black men are systematically removed from the lives of younger black people. Yes. By the courts, by a range of institutions. I know I get angry when I see cases of incest and pedophilia in school, because I had to go through a criminal background check and be fingerprinted. When I wanted to teach, I did it. But other people, no disrespect, black folk who are gay or other gays have a way of getting their people to circumvent that. They come in and prey on kids, and particularly young men, and they're the same ones that will keep someone like you and I from being able to even come in and volunteer, even if we have a clean record. We've got to create the kind of institutions that once existed in our community that at least meet the needs of nurturing the young. And the people that do it have to be vetted. They have to be vetted also with the understanding that if you mess with a black child or woman, I don't know how it is, but that person is made to pay a very precious price for violating the trust of the community.
Yes.
We do not have that now. In fact, a lot of people don't even know where to send their children to be around folks because of the lack of systems to make certain that certain things don't occur in the absence of parental supervision.
You know, Doctor, I just punched in for the TV viewers, teachers sleeping with students, and the pictures that are popping up are white females, and there's one black female, like 4 levels down. But it's really, when we talk about teachers having sex with students, it seems to almost be a white female monopoly on this.
Oh, hold on, Doctor, before you answer that question, I want to add on to that question. That True Power was brought up. When you see, like, with the whole Me Too movement and the Time's Up and how they're going after how they do Bill Cosby in prison, and the Catholic Church did the same thing in Pittsburgh that Cosby supposedly did. When you see the stuff that they did with what they're doing with R. Kelly, and how when you look over at like people like Harvey Weinstein and Kevin Spacey and stuff, no documentaries, none of that stuff. But back to these movies, why aren't these organizations calling out the female predators? Because when you pull up sexual predators, female sexual predators, a lot of white women come up, and a lot of it's more black victims than you think they are. And I'm just trying to get a more understanding on why it's like that stuff gets overlooked, and it's a lot in these inner city schools where the predominantly black male students are. A lot of these white teachers are going in there preying on these little black boys, but it's a lot of black women doing it too.
Okay. That's a lot, but let me try to say this. First and foremost, I thank God my mother intervened when there was a white woman who was grooming my brother and I for sexual abuse.
Thank God.
So I'm very clear about that. And we always are able, the problem with black males is what I would call boastful dickology. Black man has been told he's okay, he has a big penis, he has no problems, he doesn't need a job, he's not an emotional being. You can start having sex with him when he's 2 years old and he gets it. Black men, this idea of black male sexuality is used not to glorify us as lovers, but to make us sexual beasts that should be loathed, hated, and exploited at any age. And sadly, black men accept that as a badge of honor instead of saying there's more to me than my penis. A lot of folks say, well, at least they recognize me for something. Why can't it be for, yes, I have a big dick, but I think I'm somebody, right?
Right.
A lot of times, we even do that within our own community, and sometimes many of our women deal with us the same way. The problem the only thing in the world that matters to black men who are into this big dick syndrome is that since life is about satiating your big penis, you don't ever want to call out women on any level, no matter what color, because you may not get any more, pardon my language, pussy. So whatever gets you pussy is good. If you're 2 years old and women are humping on you, that's good because you're getting pussy, because all black men can do is get pussy. And it's one big circle. So a lot of folks would consider women molesting boys, whether it's Ike Turner or Chris Brown or any other black men that have been raped and abused by black women, okay, that's cool because they got pussy. And that's always good, no matter how it happened. Thank God for it. White, if it had some herpes in it, at least you got some. This kind of immorality that is pushed as normative, which does not, this is not about the child that may result or whatever. It's about us being sexual animals that are here to be used by, whether it's the white woman or the white man or whatever. Nobody's talking about Ed Buck, who has multiple residences. I wonder how many black men's bodies are buried in his yard, and nobody will ask. When it comes down to sexual abuse of black men, or any kind of abuse of black men cannot be victims. White supremacy teaches that, and also the black street thing about black men all being super means we can't get shot in the head by the cops. We can't have a police nightstick put in our behind by the cops because black men are so strong. There are these myths around who we are that some of us hold on to try to balm our egos that we're not free. We as black men haven't said, hey, look, we're going to stop the pain. I hurt. I'm not going to be hurt. I'm not going to let another generation of people be hurt. We don't see, in fact, white women abuse kids all over the country. And I agree with that. And I see case after case. But you have to understand, all of you, with all your wisdom, name a case in which you know a white man was convicted of raping a black woman. In all the years that I studied, I only ran across one. And that was, 65 years ago, there was a case in Mississippi. And that was an unusual case. You were almost one of the least, a crime that's almost impossible to find. It's the crime of whites sexually abusing black people, no matter how egregious it is. Jeffrey Dahmer didn't get busted. They didn't put him on charges of rape, even though he killed something like 20 people. There is a white man last name Dominique. If they didn't put him in the gas chamber, he killed up to 22 black men that they know of. They didn't really talk about the rapes. They talked about the murders. You see, the system will not punish or call out white folks. We have not put a premium on the virtue of our black boys or our black girls. Right. We have not gone out after white folks when they do things to black people sexually. We will talk amongst ourselves and complain amongst ourselves that it happened. But yet, if they come after a black person, My distant cousin, Bill Cosby, I don't believe he raped that Jewish broad that looks like Dr. Spock with a wig. Okay? He didn't drug anyone. That's not in the document. Benadryl is not a rape drug. That's what he got busted for, Benadryl. That's over the counter. That's in dispensaries in jail. That's given out to you by your nurse in a public school. Okay? But our people are very quick when one of ours is attacked. And flawed, Bill Cosby definitely is. A hoe, I'll give it that. Inappropriate adulterer to his wife, who's a cousin to my mother. All of that is true, but it doesn't make him what they said. But you know what? Bill Cosby is in the boule. And Bill Cosby was down with the Greeks. And the Greeks marched to the beat of white folks.
Yes, sir.
And if the Greeks get mad, or if the Greeks see white folks get mad, they'll turn on you. The Greeks turned on Martin Luther King in 1967. And more or less, virtue signaled to white folks that you killed Dr. King. As long as we got our pork chops, they were fine with it.
Doctor.
These people, we've got a situation, and I'll stop with this sentence, in which whatever white people say and believe matters more to the people who have the ability to affect change in our community than what are the needs of the masses of us encountering these problems, whether they're physical, psychological, economic, or otherwise.
Wow. Doctor, I have a question for you from the chat room. This is from Michael Watts. As Dr. Shorts, I'm a Douglas as well, or something, as well, like Kamala Harris and Nicki Minaj. Does he know we deal with a lot of identity issues?
Yeah, I'm well aware of what a Douglas is, okay, which is an African or Black indigenous African and East Indian mix. I'm aware of it. I used to be an activist with the Dalit or the untouchable community, and I have many friends that are Indian. I do not hate, in particular, the folks who can relate to Black folks who come from the Indian subcontinent, because we've got people there. I'm aware of the caste system. I'm very much aware that this goes on. The fundamental challenge of people like Nicki Minaj and Kamala Harris and others is that if they want to Brahmanize or be at the top, the whiter skin, and they're against Black folks, which is what a lot of people who have mixed families deal with, if they don't love the Black people equal to the white or the Indian people in their family, effectively they're enemies to Black folks.
Right, and the other folks.
I mean, if you hate me when you're half of what I am, what am I supposed to do? Why should I embrace you if you won't embrace me?
Right.
And by the way, the Douglas are more accepted by Black people than by the Asians. The same way the mixed Black folks or the mixed whatever, mulatto, whatever, are more accepted by Black people than by white folks, typically. Right. So the issue is, if that person doesn't esteem the lineage of the family that is not of high status or high stature, they elect to hate half of themselves.
Wow.
And that means that they're going to kick themselves out twice, because if they're not liked by the Indian group and they hate the Black group, then they've outcasted themselves. The more creative and intelligent group would be, hey, Black people like me. I get a little more extra attention because of the greater hair or how I look. More folks are into me because I'm an exotic thing that folks like. It seems like take the love where you can get it from. And those that don't like you, leave them alone. And that seems to be the only way that folks who come from those backgrounds are going to work it out, is to say, it's better to be Black because there's this place for me, I can exist and be accepted among black people. And for that side that doesn't want me, see you, don't want to be you.
Wow. That's so heavy. No, seriously, that's some heavy load that you just dropped. You know, you're talking about people's internal mechanisms being off kilter because of something outside of themselves is saying that this group or that group is better than the other. This is where my ultimate message of forget all that nonsense. We are all human beings at the end of the day. But I do understand what you're saying. Until we all collectively reach that point, Doctor, what you're saying is in place still. We have to come together, unfortunately or fortunately, on a racial level to better ourselves. But when we're doing this process, we have to not kill off, or delete the dead weight that would just hold true to the old basic stereotypes and negative images of self instead of embracing those who brightens up or at least illuminates the positive aspects to self. And this self-positive stuff I can realize or at least recognize in another human being. So therefore we build a bridge instead of burning one and having war.
Okay, I got a question. We can clearly see now that the 2020 race is on in Democratic primary. And so far, the two of the biggest names got melody. We all know that Kamala Harris, you know, her record in California as Attorney General, it's a lot of black men that's rotting in jail because of the things she did in California. And then today, Cory Booker announced on the first day of Black History Month, you know, the shortest month of the year, which Black history is American history. It's like I'm starting to see a lot of black people really not, especially black men, really not like, are starting to hold their vote. And I see if we can just get enough black people to hold that vote and to bring that, to help bring that system down, we would start to be able to get some game.
But I'm saying, dog, the game is played out. We're done with game. We had too much game. We need truth. We need truth right now.
We got. I understand all that, but if we're going to play, which the way the system is set up, we're going to play within the confines of their arena. And we all know the reason why Republicans put all these voter restriction laws in place, and the reason why Democrats can only win if it's high turnout, especially in the black community. The only way they can win if we get enough people to just be like, I don't give a shit who runs or whatever happens. Let the cards fall. Lay where they fall. We're not voting. Period. And then put our own people in positions and have them run.
But that's what I'm saying. What the good doctor said. The people who could possibly be even in the group that would be even thought about being chosen for said position, they're already debased. They're already a Greek. They're already a Mason. They're already whatever, other than focus on the people and making the people's lives a little more tolerable. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about special rights here, guys. We're just talking about all rights applied equally to everybody.
No, I'm not talking about on something like that is not ready on like a federal level. It all starts with local government. You're gonna have to start there first before you can even be able to take on them goons in DC. Just over a money issue, period. But if you can seize control of local municipalities and stuff like that, you can start implementing a lot of stuff that's needed to put things on track. Because the only way you're going to need some kind of legislation to help do the things that need to be done for people that look like us. You're going to need legislation. You're going to need politicians that can back you up.
Well, let me ask the doctor.
With that vote.
Let me ask the doctor this. Doctor, is there truly a political solution to our collective, basically persecution?
I'm a both and person, not either or. And I agree with what the brother's saying as much as he cringes every time I say something. We need our own political party, and we also need to make the two parties as much as we can, and any other party function around our needs. But we need not just the political effort, we need a cultural, social, religious, we need a thing that's focused on our uplift and on every level, and it should be integrated. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
You can get a black person elected if we choose and pick them and we back them. And we have to do more than voting. Voting is sort of like in a marriage. Voting's like having sex. Of course you do that, but all the other things like the rent, the insurance, daycare.
Yep.
Are we grooming people to be leadership? Are we working so we can get all of the local offices? Are we working to make certain that we can either get unions or take over unions or get rid of unions if we can't get in? There are hundreds of things that we can do that may not be explicitly political, but the outcome is political.
Yes.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Therefore, it can be some of it, but it has to be economic, cultural, political, and social all at the same time, not a piece. And the goal has to be freedom,
Yes.
self-determination, and yes, control space. That nobody has a problem with Chinatown. I don't. Everywhere I go, I visited Chinatown. I'm not mad that the Chinese have a space. We also need Blacktown.
Yes.
And space that we don't sell, space that nobody can come into but us, except if you're coming to buy something. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't do it. But we need that. And when we have the economic and political, and no disrespect, my friends, armed deterrence against black criminals who are the main folks who rob black stores and businesses, at least the strong-arm robbery.
Right.
We also need intelligence, people who spy on and monitor and collect information on enemies and fair weather friends. We need to start acting like a nation. Bernard Baris, the ABL, these Jews spy on everybody. They watch everybody. Southern Poverty Law, they spy on and collect on everyone. We don't have anything that fights for us with a deliberate agenda for our safety and protection. We don't have it. We must have it. Politics is a part of it.
Yes.
Doctor, when you brought up the Jews with the spy stuff, well, I mean, it brought back to me one time. Me and True Powers was having a conversation, and the Jews started they spy stuff in the early 1900s, around 1920. I said that we, as black people, need to do need that same type of intelligence agency that the Jews established that still spy on us as we speaking right now. We need to start just like they did, and whoever ain't on board with that, then they deal with harsh consequences. That's what the Jews did.
Right. And Jewish people punish traitors. We get caught up. It's amazing. As much as many of us hate one another, when someone violates us as a group, like Kamala Harris, people get melanin nostalgic. Then all of a sudden, but she's a sister. She's not my sister.
Right.
If she wasn't my sister, I'd be against her anyhow.
We're going to unpleasant territories.
What's that desert that's out there by Israel? What's the name of that desert that's close by Israel?
The Negev.
It's a lot of bodies in that desert. Mm-hmm. People that didn't get along with the program that Israel was doing.
And they have concentration camps. They've got concentration camps in Israel right now with black people in it. The largest concentration camps in the world are in the Negev.
Well, let's be honest, Doctor. The real Jews that were talked about in the Bible, the true Semitic Jews, were nappy-head black folks.
Right. But then again, go back to the Boule. Go back to white supremacy. Go back to people that are going along to get along. Go back to people that don't like nationalism. People have been saying this, and this comes out of the black nationalist tradition of exposing that. And you will find who targeted Marcus Garvey 100 years ago. Jewish judge that helped railroad Marcus Garvey.
But didn't black Americans support. Didn't the Jews help to start the NAACP? Wasn't the Jews started all the civil rights and feminist groups, sir?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yep.
So, in other words, Doctor, the Jews used the blacks and the women as shields to bash through Aryan strongholds so that once we were all broken and corrupt, they could walk over us to get the prize.
And they're using the illegals now. Same purpose.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about. This is why we need a human referendum. We need to come together as fucking humans, dude. You could be white, you could be whatever, live your fucking land, do your fucking thing, but at the end of the day, no one should be, because the problem with white nationalists and black nationalists is the children. Who's going to determine who they sleep with to have children? If you're like, oh no, you got to be with a black guy or you got to be with a white guy, you know, that negates their freedom of will. That's the reality. We are all humans, dude. If we can get past this racial bullshit and get onto the real shit, we can get our asses off this damn mud ball that's going to be burnt up by the sun when this motherfucker goes supernova.
But I'll say this to you. I'll say this to you. Black folks have been kumbayaing since 1619, and most folks don't sing with us no matter how loud we sing.
Wow.
And black folks have joined every single solitary white organization, including the neo-Confederate organization in the country. And it doesn't help. The Latinos identify as white primarily. Why? To be against us. So what the MS-13 targets black folks, just kills black people. We have nothing to do with their reality. So as long as we've been the bottom bitch of American oppression, nobody wants to be with us except to use us to get more for themselves and discard us after we have a coalition. Just look at Jim Jones leading black folks over to South America and let 1,000 black folks murdered, and no one even talks about it. Blacks have tried, and I think the day of begging other people to work with us, it should have ended in 1619. Am I saying be against anybody else? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, we have far too much history to show that right now, when things have favored other groups at the expense of black folks, nobody identifies with the bottom person when they're trying to get theirs until they're at the bottom. Oh. So black folks need to stay in a defensive, how can I say, a humanitarian defensive mode. I don't want anybody killed or starved or abused, but I don't have to run with you in as much as you're not trying to work with me.
Wow.
If there are people that work with us, like Malcolm X, say anybody that's for freedom and justice, we're down. The black community has shown itself in 400 years to always work with anybody that wanted to work with us. But we've always had 400 years of consistent betrayal by the vast majority of people that call them white or call themselves white or others. That's a fact.
Wow. So anybody, please, write in the comments, where the doctor's wrong what he just said. Seriously, write in the comments saying that what he just said, Dr. Short, was wrong. Because I'm telling you right now, dude, I'm a pretty smart motherfucker. I'm not saying shit wrong with what he said. I'll be honest.
I had to watch the video a few times.
Watch it a couple of times, brother. But with the truth is the truth. I don't care where it comes from. It's the truth. And what he just said was logical, rational, and common sense. It's not hate. He's saying what could get you out of that fucking bullshit. Get your ass off of Section 8. Get your ass out of fucking welfare. When's the last time any of you brothers, Dr. Short, Dimebag, when's the last time you saw a homeless Jew? When's the last time you saw a fucking female who is an obvious Jew prostitute her body for a couple of dollars? And if you haven't seen this, then I ask you, brothers, why?
Do you want the truth or do you want a lie?
The truth will work.
Well, I can give you a case for New York why you don't see homeless people. Jewish people get the majority of the Section 8, irrespective of income. Jewish millionaires get public housing and get it faster. That's a New York Times article. It's been repeated. Jews get welfare. They get all of this. It's never discussed. The media is wonderful at describing any weakness or frailty of black people. And I don't like the frailties or weaknesses, but I own them. But they protect and shield other people. So if Jeffrey Dahmer is a Jew, you won't hear that. If this guy who lied about being attacked by white supremacists in Chicago is half Jew, you don't hear that. You keep hearing he's a black man. If Zimmerman, who shot and killed Trayvon Martin, is a Jew, you hear he's a Latino. And I can go on and on about people who commit and do things, but they will never describe who it actually is, except when the person is black.
Yes.
So having worked in news, having worked in a company that's about 70% Jewish, and I want to say, myself included, have significant Jewish ancestry. Short is a Jewish name. The name is Klein in German. Little, as in Malcolm Little. Little is a variation of Klein. It's a Jewish name. Small is a variation of Klein. Robert Small. There are a whole bunch of black folks with Jewish roots in this country.
Wait, wasn't Robert Small, Doctor? I'm so sorry. Wasn't Robert Small one of the first naval black men in America?
He's not one of the first naval ones. He's one of the first black Reconstruction congressmen, but he did steal a vote from the Confederacy and sell himself to freedom. It's called the planter.
Yes. Yeah, that's what. See, you know, this is why I love having true intellectuals like you, Doctor, on the show, because you have all the knowledge that's pertinent to our situation. You know, I know a lot of things you say, Doctor, seriously, to the untrained ear. Oh my God, he's filled with hate. Oh my God. Oh my God. But if you break down what the good doctor here is telling us, not, just break it down for yourself. How will it affect you, my friend? How will it? If you can get off of public assistance and actually help your brothers and sisters and friends, how will that help you? That's what the good doctor's saying. And that's why, sir, I am so happy that you came on the show tonight. Seriously. And thank you, listener, for hipping me to Dr. Short. I'm sorry, guys. Go ahead.
No, I just said people need this work.
Yeah, listen, Doctor, me and Dimebag, we didn't know what you were about. Literally, this is the first time Dimebag has ever talked to you. Quite literally. On this 3D plane of existence. But the reality is your words and the way you're putting them together and the contents in which they are said is nothing but love. Love for one's people and love for oneself. And if a people cannot love itself, then that people can never love other people. And the ultimate goal is for all people to love one another and be together in solidarity for common purpose and common cause. And if it's not about uplifting a deity such as God, then it damn should be about uplifting the reality of unborn babies, the reality of family, and the reality of society in general. If you cannot pull yourself to come together to try to be righteous for a spiritual endeavor, then perhaps we can come together and be righteous for a physical reward. And that reward is called liberty, justice, and peace. If we do not have those three, then we indeed have nothing.
And there will be justice for the ones who call us home. Swept, fast, a little bit painful, but there will be justice.
Now, real quick, Doctor, could you kind of elaborate to a lot of our younger viewers and listeners, what is up with Roger Stone? What is the significance of him?
Okay. Roger Stone is a Republican. Roger Stone worked for Richard Nixon as a lifetime Republican. He even was involved with the very, very, very cynical, racist political activist named Lee Atwater, who he's very quick to let people know that Lee Atwater died a racist, hating black folk. Okay, and he, by the way, even though he was a Republican, has always tried to be fair towards black folks. And when you look at the ineffectiveness of our thousands of black elected officials, when you see a white person who stood to benefit if they took a racist position, refused to do so, it says there's something in this person's character, even if they have flaws, that they're not a monster. And I don't teach white demonology. By the way, I just said to you, my family's significantly Jewish.
Yes.
I don't deny. There are a lot of folk who run around talking about being 100%. I don't believe in that. Okay? I'm very comfortable with Africa. I love Africa. But I'm going. In fact, I will probably be in Russia, one place where I have roots, in the next month or so. Family from Belarus, family from Denmark, family from France, family from Germany, and of course family from the United Kingdom. And that doesn't take away from who I consider myself to be. So there is one human family, and if we could act like that in unison, or at least anyone that comes as a human being that wants to get along for the better, one isn't asking them to fight my fight or my battle, but don't get involved on the side of people struggling against me when I fight for justice.
Right.
Are you following what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
And in terms of Roger Stone was the one pushing Donald Trump to do something to end the abuse of blacks in Libya and in Haiti. Roger Stone's been forced from the president's
I'm so sorry, Doctor. Please tell us, for the younger people who don't know, what's going on with blacks in Liberia and the other place.
In Libya, the blacks were being exterminated by people that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama funded. Mass rape, mass genocide, mass expulsions of blacks in Libya starting in 2011. I was there. They destroyed the country, and tens of thousands of black people, the oldest black communities in North Africa, were destroyed by Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama.
Wow.
And Roger Stone, the concentration camps, mass graves, all of this. And in Haiti, 300,000 blacks or 300,000 Haitians died as a result of the earthquakes.
Yes.
There are 100,000 children that are the products of either rape or abuse of United Nations personnel or NGO or non-governmental organizations working in Haiti. 1/3 of the land of Haiti's been stolen because of the Clintons and Obama. $13.5 billion in relief money was looted from Haiti by the Clintons. The Clintons and others are involved in mass sex, human trafficking of children and adults, and organ harvesting. Roger Stone was trying to bring that out. And in terms of something local, Roger Stone, for 25 years, has been against the Clinton mass incarceration laws that have put millions of blacks behind bars. And so some of this small steps towards criminal justice reform that President Trump has taken comes out of people like Roger Stone pressuring for years that they have to stop the disparity in sentencing.
Now, Doctor, real quick.
What?
I shared with the listeners the first conversation I had with you, and I brought up Roger Stone, and I said, when he came down the steps, and they asked him, Roger Stone, did you, sue the presidency for a pardon? And Roger Stone looked at everyone and said, no, I asked President Trump to pardon Marcus Garvey.
Yeah.
Now,
he did.
Yeah,
but
I want to share everybody with the world. This is the breaking news. The reason why Roger Stone said that is because of the man that's on the other side of the phone right now, Dr. Short. Would you please explain that?
It's very simple. I want there to be a black political party for us that can work with whichever other national party will give us the best deal, that will run candidates that are unabashedly black, that do what we want. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
But we do not have that. Because I knew Hillary Clinton tried to have Martin Luther King's number 2 man assassinated in Libya, who's my former pastor, Reverend Walter Fauntroy. I couldn't support the Democrats. If you try to kill my pastor and my leader, I'm going to cross the aisle and fight you. You killed my friends in Libya. I have Haitian roots. You're killing the people, one of the countries my people come from. Then I'm going to go to the other side. I went to people that knew the president with an agenda I felt should be articulated. Black farmers need relief. Black colleges and universities need the money that Obama took. Trump hasn't given much of it, but he hasn't taken away, which is what Obama did.
Yes.
Black political prisoners need to be freed. The files need to be opened up on the assassinations of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and anybody else black that got killed from the First World War to the present. Assata Shakur needs the bounty taken off of her head. Take the $2 million off that Obama put on there. H. Rap Brown, also known as Imam Jamil Al-Amin, needs to be released. Mamiya needs to be released. Marcus Garvey needs to be pardoned. Chuck Berry needs to be pardoned. Jack Johnson needs to be pardoned. And that there should be a group of people that work on redressing all kinds of things that impacted the black community. Sadly, my friends, most of the Republicans, they get close to people like Stone or Trump, and they won't advocate. Yes, I did ask for Tupac Shakur's stepmother or godmother to have her charges dropped.
You hear that, people?
That's real. This is what people should be doing.
Yes.
The Bourré people are in position to do this, as well as we talked about mass incarceration, that they need to take down the Clinton laws. Not that, but let's not be mistaken. There are some awful, vicious, nasty racists in the Republican Party, as well as some in the Democratic Party.
Yes, doctor.
And some of them black in the Democratic Party, and some of them are black in the Republican Party. But there are a few in both parties that are white that are able to cut a deal if black people have their stuff organized. It might be a tenuous deal, but a tenuous deal is better than nothing at all. And this is sort of why my motto for the last four years has been, all we need is God and each other.
Yes.
I'm not necessarily worshiping one party or the other. I'm thinking I believe in God, and I believe that people who are righteous can come together to make life bearable while we're living. That's where I'm coming from. But Roger Stone, when I said to him, Marcus Garvey was innocent. You guys jacked him up. Someone should, take this. Not that he needs a pardon from white people, but his family wants it.
Right.
Not that him standing up for black issues needs a nod from white folks that he didn't do anything. We already know that he didn't do anything. But symbolically, for the family, if that made the family, one black family whole, for this historic figure, and by announcing his name and pardoning him would introduce his philosophy to a whole generation of people around the world, it would be worth it. Yes. For anyone that says, well, he doesn't need a pardon. Mind you, I didn't say he needed, but it would be good. Yes. For people who are thinking along the lines of Garvey, who's talking about you need your own industry, you need your own schools, you need do for yourself, pick yourself up, clean yourself up, stop drinking, stop drugging. You come from something. One God, one faith, one destiny. There's nothing wrong with slogans like that.
No, especially in this political climate. Now, Doctor, could you please share with us your honest and sincere opinion on Bernie Sanders?
Bernie Sanders. Well, very simply. A lot of the economic things that he says, I think, are worthwhile, and I agree with. A lot, not all. I think that he was very good at exciting people around dealing with the issues of working people that nobody else was articulating, to which I'm thankful for. I don't like his LGBTQ stance. I don't like his stance on abortion. I don't like his stance on feminism. The state of Vermont has one of the highest incarceration rates for blacks in the country, and there are very few blacks in Vermont, which means that if you're black and male in Vermont, because they target you, you're going to do some jail time. Vermont's a small enough state for him to throw his weight around. He should have challenged that. You didn't see anybody black from Vermont that was pronounced in his campaign. That should say to you that blacks in Vermont did not run out and beat the drum for Bernie Sanders. Think about that. Name one black person from Vermont that says, I am a state. In fact, there was one black person that was in the government of Vermont, and they lost their seat somehow. You didn't see Bernie Sanders out there crying for them. So what I'll say of Bernie Sanders is we've seen white leftist liberals before.
Right.
However, at the end of the day, and he's Jewish, I'm not mad at being Jewish. I just told you Short's a Jewish name. My grandmother's name is Sellers, which means money taker, and another one is Vilka. It means stingy or cheap. I got enough Jew to be a matzo ball, but I'm a black person and happy about it. So I don't hate people, but I'm just calling it what it is. Bernie Sanders betrayed the people that voted for him when he sold out to Hillary Clinton. He well could have possibly won had he run as an independent. He could have split the two, but he didn't fight. Hillary stole 13 elections from him. He didn't fight. He took a payoff. His role was to say populist things that I would agree with and you would agree with, and we would continue to support the Democratic Party, which acts just like the Republican Party. There's no difference between the two on a range of issues. I think we can agree on that. Therefore, Bernie Sanders is a cipher or a mystery in terms of where he really stands, but he always gets paid. And frankly, Seth Rich, his follower, I grew up partially on the street that Seth Rich was murdered on. I was on that street the morning he was killed and knew that something had gone wrong and went to watch the news. He was killed on First Street. This is the man that leaked that Hillary and them had rigged the Democratic Party nomination. How come Bernie Sanders has done nothing for Seth Rich's family? How come the black detective who was trying to find the truth on that, I believe he was either killed or disgraced, He suffered. Either he lost his life or lost his name or both. Bernie Sanders hasn't said anything. Bernie Sanders has the capacity to rock the boat as a U.S. Senator for a range of issues. He doesn't really do it. So, it's sort of like a person that tells you they got the world's biggest Jimmy, but all they want to do is foreplay. Okay? So, then why should I believe them? The foreplay was all right, but that's it? That's what you got? That's where I am with them. I'm sorry.
That's what I love about you, Doctor. You're talking about where are the tangibles? Where is Bernie talking about the tangibles for black folks? What's going to be in your hand if this man gets elected? And that's what we need to start thinking about.
Now, I think they're tangible things with the income and all, but if you don't really plan to win, if you're nothing but a dick ring for the establishment Democrats that have left our people behind, then you're selling us cotton candy on the moon. And that gets back to your tangible. So, yes, teacher gives very real solutions, but if you don't plan to win, then you're not going to apply. It's like a girl saying she's going to give you a BJ, and she's already planned not to dust you on the date.
Since we on the topic of Bernie Sanders, which you brought up a whole lot of things that I totally agree with and how I felt. I still got Bernie Sanders sticker on my truck because I agree with the message.
But his message is whack. Listen, brothers, straight up. Is Bernie Sanders talking about taking away the Federal Reserve's right to print money? Because all the shit we talked about has an economic root. Until the American government prints its own money that's backed by our glorious military, the rest is bullshit. The motherfuckers who are controlling the shit will still have it.
Can I mention something to you now that I'm thinking? Bernie Sanders, who's Jewish, knows goodness well the Jewish people and Japanese American people, and even not the black Indians, but the other Indians, the white ones and others, have gotten reparations to some degree.
Yes.
Bernie Sanders said that he was against reparations for black Americans.
Yes, Doctor.
That was something specifically for us that wasn't help everybody that he could have supported and he was against. I want y'all to remember that.
You got anything to say, back?
I just wanted to finish my question before I got cut off, but it's all good. No, since we're all with Bernie Sanders, and yeah, I do have the focus sticker on the truck. But what I'm saying is that when you look at the field, if we gotta play this dumb political game, when you look at the field, other than them repeating what they did in 2016, he's most likely probably going to win that nomination. Now, I know the way the electoral map is set up. He's going to need black folks to be Trump. Anybody that goes up against Trump is going to need the black vote in order to win. Because we're the only group in the country that votes in the bloc.
I'm telling you, though, what the good doctor just said, whether Bernie's in there or not, he ain't going to do shit for us, dude. He could have done so much already, just like Barack could have done. But we're not in the mix, man. Until America. Listen, the United States Constitution is cool as long as it's implemented to everyone equally. Until that happens, the rest is bullshit. The rest is bullshit.
Can I finish my question to the doctor?
Yes.
Now I've lost my train of thought. Never mind.
My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off, brother. I just feel so passionate about this because I wish there was some sort of bridge that would bridge the spiritual righteousness of humanity with the Constitution of the United States to fulfill the dream of freedom for all. That's all I want. I want everyone to be entitled to the the shot for success, the shot for prosperity. And it's written in the Constitution. It just has to be applied equally amongst all of us. That's all I'm saying.
I understand that. I already lost my train of thought, so I'm just gonna play off whatever goes.
Man, my bad, though. That's the last thing I want to do is ever stifle dialogue.
Mr. Dr. Short, this is the kind of chaos that goes on this show. This is not the norm. This is typical behavior between us, but it works for us. It does.
No, it does. And Dr. Short, seriously, brother, I wish that seriously, I just want to say this for the record, for everyone in the world to hear. I wish that the words that Dr. Short was talking about was actually in every school in America and throughout the world. Because at the root of what Dr. Short's talking about, we can identify with black or white, whatever. But he's talking about true freedom and true self-empowerment. That if anyone is to be respected, you have to have power in self before others who would do you harm would respect you. And, for Dr. Short to come up here and say this, dude, that takes a lot of bravery and courage, because a lot of people are against him. A lot of people want us to be in the very condition we find ourselves in today. And I just had to take my hat off to folks like, Dr. Short. He's saying the real thing that's uncomfortable. People don't want to hear it. Oh, my God. That means I actually got to get up and do something called work? Yes. If you want liberation, you have to work for it. No one's going to give it to you. And that's the way it is. And that's why.
And if someone gives it to us, there's nothing wrong with being given things. The problem is it's being dependent on people who don't like you to give you something. Yeah. Your mom and your dad gave you a birthday cake when you were a baby. Nothing wrong with that. No sin in receiving. Generosity and charity is part of my faith as a Christian. So I don't mind giving. The issue is if you're dependent on people who don't want you to have, that don't honor their own laws or their own traditions,
or treaties,
then you're in trouble.
Yes, we're in trouble.
There's nothing wrong with getting stuff for free. I need to remind people that things like the Homestead Act of the 1860s gave millions of acres of land for free to people just because they were white. So black people being given something isn't the problem. If they do something to better their lives, yes, if they do something to contribute to society, yes, why not let them have? If they're going to go out and buy dope and liquor and make babies and not take care of it, of course I don't want to give them anything.
Right.
But if it's going to be productive, why not? School lunch is given to kids, not because they love kids, but they understand if you want to have a healthy military that's able to fight, the folks who are going to do the fighting are usually poor folks that are in public schools. That's why you have the free lunch program, not because they're giving food to kids, and often it's crappy food. Let's be honest about that. That is to make certain for the rich people's wars, people are healthy enough to die for them.
Right.
So,
yes. Doctor, please, doctor, repeat that so all the young people hear what you're saying.
Yeah, the school lunch program was created to make certain that poor people who are going to be the ones who serve in the military were healthy enough to die on the battlefield for the rich, powerful folks.
What? Yeah.
It's not a giveaway. It's not a giveaway. They got something for that.
Yeah.
They got millions of people to go in and die or get shot or get Agent Orange poisoning.
Preach,
like
doctor.
my cousin that was buried in Arlington died from Agent Orange poisoning late last year, was a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. military.
Oh.
Agent Orange. It's still killing. But he probably got school lunch. I think that is a hell of a bargain.
Please, for this broadcast, if you could you please tell us the name of the fallen so that we all can have a moment of remembrance?
His name was Lieutenant Colonel Samuel Britton.
Lieutenant Colonel Samuel Britton. You guys,
Augustus Samuel Britton. He's just buried at Arlington National Cemetery. He was a linguist. He spoke about 15 languages. He was the gentleman that designed the educational component for the Desert Storm invasion of Iraq.
Well, I want to say, Doctor, I don't mean to Rudy put you. The spirits tell me, let's have a moment of silence for this brother. He was a fellow brother. He was caught up. He was a brilliant mind. He was, for him to do what he did in the position he did. And I want to tell you, Doctor, my condolences to your family.
Thank you.
Thank you. And like I said before, guys, this is a very fucking pro-American show. A very pro-American show. Listen, there's some very evil people. You got fucking cross-dressing cannibals in Libya as we speak that would kill you and eat you. Straight up. You got sex slave masters in Eastern Europe right now as we speak that prostitute young people to both the communists and capitalists as we speak. I wish we had an army of righteousness, an army that would destroy all these immoral, amoral fucks, the whole world order. And we set up a true world government that would protect the young, respect the old, and ensure the unborn will be born, if possible, because there's always medical situations that will not allow for that to occur. But the reality, folks, we need to start being civil. We need to start being human, especially towards each other. Dr. Short, if you had the opportunity to tell young people from the ages of 17 to 26, they had no guidance, sir. They have no elder in their community with the knowledge that you have. But their question is, sir, what can we do to economically ensure our future? What would you tell them?
If people were to create loan funds and savings and loans, doesn't always take a lot of money. People need to have institutions that allow them access to credit. There's also a thing called micro-lending or Grameen banks. These are small capital groups that invest in community people starting up their own businesses that are very successful everywhere in the world that they're trying. And the only community that does not have these microcredit programs, and I believe it's by choice, again, a lot of coons in the boule, it's a black community in America doesn't have Grameen banking, microcredit lending, because a lot of the black politicians get money from Latino, Asian, and white businessmen to undermine independent black businesses. That's right. Black civil rights activists and others are paid by other communities to keep us as consumers instead of creators.
Yes. Doctor, this is what I'm talking about. When I was on the phone with you the other day and I said, when we do the show, totally unscripted, none of us, all three of us, we do not have teleprompters. This is real shit. What the doctor just said there is totally true. They're being paid to ensure your economic dependency on the greater society. Bottom line. Now, once we pass that, oh my God, awakening, now we can get to the heart of the matter. Listen.
Yeah, and one other thing I want to emphasize to people, Nation of Islam always talks about white devils. We need to start looking at black devils. And we need to get angry.
No, he didn't say that.
Yes, I did. The black devils are more insidious. And that low-hanging fruit in our struggle, if we can correct those people, nobody else can stop us. The black community is like a football team who has a quarterback that keeps throwing the ball to the other team's best running back. We're where we are because there are people on the inside making certain that we don't get any further. There are a lot of people out here that would tell you that W.E.B. Du Bois was the greatest black intellectual of the 19th century, the 20th century, but they'd never tell you that Du Bois initially was opposed to economic development of black people.
What?
And he worked to purge the NAACP of young blacks who were talking about business and economic opportunity. It's called the Amenia Conferences. There were two of them in the 1930s. And Du Bois ganged up with white liberals to shut down the young blacks who said we need businesses and maybe we'll never get rid of segregation, but we can feed ourselves, we can educate ourselves. Are you understanding me? And let me go further. The NAACP is the most dangerous organization to black people. It's 100 times more dangerous than the KKK.
Why?
Yes, I said it. Well, I would go back 71 years. What many people don't know is that the NAACP has no legal right to exist. One reason is because it violates its charter. Its charter as an organization was that it was to be a nonpartisan, meaning that they would talk to Republican, Democrats, progressives, anybody that's willing to cut a deal, they'll go with. But the NAACP is solidly a Democratic Party registration and voter turnout organization and has been so since the 1950s. Now, let me say something quickly. The NAACP leadership, including the man who wrote the words to the song Lift Every Voice and Sing, James Weldon Johnson, they were all told when the United Nations was being established 73 years ago that if they really put forth an agenda to address the issues of black people, they would no longer get white liberal breadcrumbs. So they had to decide not to truly try to bring about the liberation of black people, but to help the boule at the top and sort of address minor things. If you've noticed, for mass incarceration, the NAACP did bits and pieces, yes. But the NAACP has not endorsed the president's baby step bill, they call it first step bill, to make life easier and to do something about disparities in sentencing and mass incarceration. The NAACP did not support it. All right. Now, let me go further to say to you, the NAACP was pressured by Eleanor Roosevelt, wife of Theodore Roosevelt, and Harold Ickes, the man that let Marian Anderson sing at the Lincoln Memorial in 1939, that they could not really push for the black cause. One of the reasons being, under the United Nations, what black people were suffering, according to the United Nations standard, was genocide.
Yes.
And America would lose its standing in the world if the true nature of how black people were oppressed was put front and center. So the NAACP turned its back on the black community for money. Now, we know that the NAACP was established by Jews and the president of it was Jewish until the 1970s. I'm not knocking anything positive that the NAACP did for black people. It did do some good, but just enough good to be credible. The NAACP spied on and helped hurt other black activists, including Dr. Martin Luther King, was spied on. Roy Wilkins, the field secretary, who was the first black president of the NAACP, actively spied on Martin Luther King for the FBI.
It was Operation Geronimo.
What's his name? Gay Edgar Hoover.
Yes, Gay Edgar Hoover. He was a cross-dressing
so the
faggot.
NAACP.
Oh, I shouldn't have said that. My bad.
The NAACP has a very bizarre history. In fact, the NAACP is responsible, going back to 1977. Wow. The NAACP is responsible for introducing the gay agenda into the black and civil rights agenda. Oh, yes, it did.
Doctor,
oh, yes, it did. The NAACP did this to us. The NAACP did this to us.
Please, doctor, please. I'm so sorry. I got to say this. I got to ask. This is my question, True Power's Mine. Dr. Short, what has the gay agenda benefited the black community?
AIDS, gentrification, confusion, family breakup, a loss of political power, a loss of economic wealth. It's been privatized benefit for affluent white gay men primarily, and some affluent white gay women, and socialized expense at the cost of our struggle with nothing for us. Private gain for them, socialized cost for us.
So that's the benefit of the Edomite homosexual agenda towards our ethnic population. You'll have
in fact, I need to say it's been
dying in Ed Buck's basement. You'll have black men turn their backs on the black woman and black female family unit, being that, I want to go out and be with Biff Carrington or whatever and get on this TV show versus staying there, not just with a black woman, but any woman, straight up.
Right. Well, I want to say that there's the Equality Act that is going to replace the language or interject into the civil rights language of 59 federal laws, statutes, including the 1964 Civil Rights Act, where they're going to put in gender, orientation, sexual identity, and sex into it, meaning that pedophilia, necrophilia, any kind of fetish, transgenderism, if they get it their way, and there are 201 sponsors of this law or this bill in Congress right now, including every single solitary black Democrat in the House and Senate, with the exception of one. Not counting those that just got sworn in, but give them a couple of days now that the Congress is back open and see how many more of them support it. The Equality Act will destroy religious freedom. The Equality Act is effectively a reparations bill. If you're homosexual, you can't be denied loans or credit or housing or educational scholarships. In fact, if you have a trial, you'll have a jury of your peers where several gay people, if not a gay judge, will be in every courtroom to make certain that they get justice. This was signed off on by the NAACP and the Congressional Black Caucus and the Leadership Council for Conference for Civil and Human Rights. That's right.
Doctor, repeat that about the trial. Repeat that about the trial. Repeat the breakup of the jury and all that. Repeat that so the young people can hear.
They are guaranteed what they want. It's guaranteed that there will be gay people on the jury when they're tried. Mind you, all white juries convicting black people, it used to be illegal, but it's lawful again. And what the gays lie about and say, we just want what the blacks have. You tell me where black folks could demand black jurors on their jury.
Yes.
And that'd be prearranged. Guaranteed credit without proving creditworthiness based on your sexuality. I come in with strap-on titties and I know I'm going to get a loan.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I mean, that's worse than
the number one agenda. This is the number one agenda for the Democratic Party for 2019. And this was stated by Nancy Pelosi January 3rd. Yep.
That is horrible, Doctor.
What
you're talking about is the end of humanity. The end of it all. I mean, we've already been demonized.
Well, there are 200 and 51 people in Congress that support it. And by the way, Cory Booker, Kamala Harris are the Senate sponsors of this bill. It's HR 2282 or Senate Bill FB 10006. Kamala Harris and Cory Booker think that homosexuality, necrophilia, pedophilia is equivalent of being black or female in America. And that you don't have a religious right to object to anything that goes on in that, and you could face federal prosecution for not supporting gayness.
You know what? Right now, I want on the record, so this could be heard for the world. In the chat room, Chester Davis Jr., social engineering. He sums it up quite well. It's social engineering, folks. You are being socialized to be eradicated. You hear me? You hear the good doctor? You hear Mag? This is what we're talking about. Eradication.
Because when your men are more feminine than the women in your community, there is no resistance. You can go in there, you can rape, you can pillage, you can burn that some bitch to the ground, and this is clearly what they're doing.
Can I tell you something that's going to blow your mind? The only way that this bill will not pass into law is if Donald Trump stands against it. They've got the House already. They only need to bring it to a floor vote to get it through. It'll be a struggle in the Senate, but they'll probably get it through. If your audience hears in a year or a few months that Donald Trump is against civil rights and all of this kind of stuff, they'll be lying. What Donald Trump is fighting is this, we call it the pedophile amnesty bill. But in reality, they call it the Equality Act. But there's not, an anus isn't equal to a vagina in childbirth. An anus isn't equal to a vagina in terms of pleasure to the male body. The vagina is not, it is superior to the anus and will always be. One is an entrance of life and one is an exit of what your body doesn't need.
Oh my, it's so sad in this day and age when we're about ready to go out and explore the whole universe. We have to trip on where do you put the PP in the hole. That is so sad of the state.
Well, actually, you won't even have to ask that question anymore because this law provides for transgenderism. But all of this will be taught in school. It will be mandatory.
No,
you will have to teach people all of this
doctor.
Stuff.
No,
and
sir.
once you introduce this,
there's many of us out here, doctor, that will not allow our children to be filled with this brainwashing nonsense. There's many of us out here, doctor, that will stand on righteousness.
All I can tell you, you're going to hate me. I don't mind. I'll stand. Donald Trump is against this, and I stand. Some crazy stuff goes on with him. I know folk are mad at me, but if you tell me that Nancy Pelosi, Cory Booker, and Kamala and them, including Bernie Sanders, supports the Equality Act. Bernie Sanders is a co-sponsor. Oh, yes, he is.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
This is what I'm talking
everybody
about.
That you see as a Democrat
on NBC and all that shit. You're not hearing this the other morning show. This is where you get the real scoop.
At the end of the day,
Donald Trump is the only person that can keep this from happening. And so when you see me supporting Donald Trump, it may not be every policy. It may be I'm saying, wow, I'm going to stay with the devil that I know instead of these people who would put this on our kids.
Yes.
That would make it, in fact, give civil rights, hate crime protection for pedophiles and predators. That means you, sir, you realize they want to make it a crime if you misgender someone. If you accidentally call a man dressed up like a woman, it can have you prosecuted by the government, even though he's trying to look like a woman. He fooled your ass and you get punished for it.
No.
Or if you think a woman that looks like a man is a man, they can file charges against you. If you read the bill, in fact, have folks, they get my email, wrandyshirt@gmail. I can send you the full text of the law. That the bill that's proposed, you have to read it, but it's in there. even if you didn't mean to insult anyone, even if intention wasn't there to call people out of their gender and insult them, they still want to make that a crime.
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, almost all of us will keep getting in trouble by people who had surgery and everything to make themselves look like another sex. And if you accidentally say, "Excuse me, ma'am," and you know what? All the black folks and people who work their little bullshit hamburger flipper jobs, they're going to get fired and sued because they have to deal with the public. They don't know who they're talking to. Every time they make a mistake, that person's going to get a mark on their life. This is so incredible. And if you don't like gentrification, these laws, the way that they're writing it, that you can't deny people housing or loans for housing, whose communities have been destroyed by gentrification, ours, and who's been the spear tip? It's been the LGBTQ community. Kiss the black communities as you know it goodbye. And who brought this to you? Black Democrats, almost to the one with the exception of Marshall Fudge of Ohio and Cleveland. All the other ones did it. Every single solitary one. Every one of them said that basically gayness and blackness is found interchangeable.
That's why you call these people out and say they are a traitor to the race by putting the homosexual agenda above us.
Your guy Clay, Lacey Clay, is a co-sponsor for the pedophile bill. He's the same one that voted that the police in the state of Missouri need machine guns, tanks, bombs, tear gas, drones. He voted for it. At the height of the Ferguson protest at that. Your Emmanuel Cleaver, the so-called preacher in Kansas City, he supported military-grade weaponry being given to the police, and he supports the pedophile bill.
Oh, my God. I can't believe this.
Every single solitary, if y'all hate me for supporting President Trump, please understand they put a gun to my head. And I said, hell, I'd rather not get shot in the head and keep him than have these people bring this in and destroy us. No, Dr. And this is one of the reasons that people hate Trump. He just kicked the trannies out of the army. Barack Obama had made it policy that you could go to any jail if you said you were a woman, even though you look like a man with no operation, that you could go to a woman's jail.
Yeah. Dr. The stuff you brought up on William Lacey Clay, being I know a lot about Missouri politics, was right on the money. That dude's been scamming the people in his district for a very, very long time.
You know that Lacey Clay turned his back on a black family. You know about that girl that was in Iraq and they raped her and they burned her body up, said she committed suicide because she had VD?
Yeah. Oh, my God. Oh, my, that's
You know what I'm talking about. You remember that? Okay. That girl, Lavina Johnson. Lacey Clay turned his back on them. No Me Too for this girl. Huh?
Oh, my God.
No, there's no Me Too. They're talking about lynching for this fake dude up in Chicago. They're killing black activists all over Missouri. They've been killing them in Springfield a long time, before Ferguson.
Yes.
I know a little bit about Missouri.
Racist, guys. Springfield, Missouri. Incredibly racist.
Springfield, Missouri. They kill people that are activists there. They've hung them. I know this. I've been watching Missouri for a long time, and I'll say this to you. Do you hear them talking about lynching for blacks in Missouri? No. But look at how all of them have run after this gay dude from Empire who's lying. Him and his boy were role-playing some sex. They wanted to play Emmett Till, gay Emmett Till, and they got wrong. They had a fight because he got like, oh, you killed me too. Right.
What?
You know that story is a hoax. It's a hoax, y'all. It's a hoax. If you've ever been to Chicago and the weather's cold, y'all didn't know it, but I went outside and swept the snow off my mother's car, swept the walk in the front of my house. Chicago had weather 20, 30, 40 degrees below zero, and with wind chill probably 60. Who could even pull out their Jimmy to try to penetrate somebody? Who would want to? You'd get frostbite on your dick. All right. Who white would be out looking for anybody? You know what? give white supremacists some credit. Why would they want to go into a neighborhood that does have some black people in it, that's well-traveled with cameras everywhere, and attack somebody black at 2 in the morning in sub-zero weather? White supremacists do things to their advantage. I don't like what they do, but it makes sense. If you're going to do something, plan that stuff out like Devin Ross did. Have an escape plan. Don't do like black folks shoplift in the Asian store, try to steal the cigarettes in front of the security camera.
No, you didn't.
Right.
No, you didn't, Doctor. You did not break that down just like that.
Before we get off the topic of Lacey Clay and the shenanigans that is Missouri, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Ferguson is in. I should have looked this up, but I'm pretty sure. I think Ferguson is in William Lacey Clay's district. Now, so okay. So from just me just sitting at home, in my little dungeon, and I'm doing research on the things that's going on. It's about 12 activists that was in, with the protesters and stuff in Ferguson that has been found dead, all in the same way. Guns got to the head, cars set on fire. The day before the whole Mike Brown stuff broke out, it was a guy in some apartments. If you're coming down Canfield off of if you're coming off of 70, you get off at Lucas and Hunt, you go down, I think it's Chambers, and then you turn on Florissant Avenue. You talking about Florissant? Yeah, and you turn on the road that leads you to the apartments where Mike Brown lived. Those set apartments where he shot outside at. It was another, the very first victim of these heinous crimes was found the night before the whole Ferguson stuff even started. Was found in his car with a bullet wound to his head, and the car set on fire. Can I ask you a favor? Can I ask you guys a favor in Missouri? Because y'all didn't see the news. You didn't hear about the woman from Iran that got arrested by the FBI in Lambert Airport, brought in chains and thrown in jail in D.C.? I need to tell you about that. My documentary partner was arrested on January 13th at the airport, shackled in chains. Her son was arrested. She was Muslim. They stripped off her Islamic clothes, yanked off her headscarf, stole her DNA, and threw her in jail and tried to force her to eat pork for 3 days.
Oh, man.
She was in St. Louis because we did a documentary that your group can look at on Vimeo. They have it on YouTube as well. It's called Dred Scott Nation. It's a documentary film that I helped make in 2015. It's on YouTube, Dred Scott Nation. She went back to Missouri to follow up on these people being killed. So if you have information, I need to put you in touch with my sister, because we have a documentary talking about the assassinations of the grassroots leaders. And I believe that they picked her up and jailed her. And she just got back to her country 2 days ago to silence her and to punish us. In fact, if you go on YouTube, you will find that they took the sound off of the last part of our documentary about what they were doing to blacks in St. Louis. Now, okay, and so understand. Yeah, that goes back. Now I can probably tie that in with the information that I found. It was the only person that was. It was one female that was highly involved. She didn't get murdered, but her son did. He was hung in her backyard. Right. He was hung in her backyard. But what about the sniper shooting people on the highway there that they keep quiet? What about the young people that they rounded up and they made disappear? Okay, what you need to understand that it's providential that we're meeting. I need folks in Missouri that know about what's going on to be in touch with me so we can get the names and information put out in the international press. My auntie lives in Ferguson, My auntie lives near the church. That's just a few yards away from where Big Mike died. Okay, so you have to understand. Y'all can help me. We need to put this information out. It shouldn't just be known in Missouri. You know, they call it the show me state, and they do show me and you what white supremacy can do if you're not organized and united. And it shows people every day, whether it's at East St. Louis genocide, they killed 3,000-4,000 people just across the river. Y'all know about that, I'm certain. And by the way, you need to know that the National Democratic Party ordered the destruction of Black East St. Louis. Did I lose somebody?
Well, that's exactly what we need to do. We have to get this information out there. You know, we're right here on site. We got a Dimebag up in St. Louis.
Well, Brother Dimebag, we need to have a conversation after this conversation on the three-way, and I need to give you some addresses because I have contacts in Russian television and in Iranian television. I believe we can get this out. They need to stop killing our people there.
Yes. And
we have to do everything that we can. In fact, I'll be very honest with you. Y'all know that Obama and them let that happen to y'all. I had arguments with my movement grandfather, begging him to call Obama and to step in before folk got killed. And they refused.
Wow.
I'll just give a hint of who my movement grandfather got a civilian Medal of Freedom, Presidential Medal of Freedom a few years ago. They worked with Dr. King. I won't say their name because I love them, but you know, him and I had like a nasty argument. The difference between, say, someone like me, I might make people cringe, but when I know someone that's in a position that could help Black folks, or it doesn't have to just be Black people. I've done advocacy for a lot of people, inside and outside the country. I'll go in and tell them.
With that Ferguson shit in Missouri, they come
who will physically turn their back on you to keep you from talking. They won't do anything to help Black folks. I'm talking about the people in Congress. On purpose, they deliberately, they know what they're doing. They know in St. Louis that the pipes that have lead in it, and when they put fluoride in the water, contributes to learning problems and contributes to renal failure among Blacks. This is all over the country. They know. When you go to people and you talk to them, Black members of Congress, I've gone to that punk, John Lewis, and asked them, can't y'all say or do something, have a hearing, anything, right? And they turn you away. They don't want to serve. They don't want to stand up. In fact, this is sort of why the most effective Black congressman in the history of the United States was Adam Clayton Powell of New York, from Harlem. But Adam Clayton Powell, it's kept, all right? 65 years ago, Adam Clayton Powell defected to the Republican Party because the Democrats would not deal with justice for Black people. We have to learn how to play the system as well as have our own game. That's why I agree with the brother earlier. Do everything that you can. When you're in an alley and someone jumps on you, you pick up whatever you can hit that person over the head with.
Yes.
You can stab them, if you can shoot them, if you can bite them. You show your enemy that there's nothing you won't do to chump them off. And that the only way you can deal with them is they're face down as you're walking away on the pavement.
Now, Doctor, before we lost we was talking about the Ferguson, and I just got a few more things that I'm trying to show how the woman, when you're talking about the woman that was arrested at the airport, whenever what really, behind the whole Ferguson thing, the ones that that really knew the truth and what was really going on, a lot of them either got detained, locked up, or they triggered with the fiction. This is what I've learned just from the research. Now, it was 6 victims of the 12 that were found in the city limits of Ferguson. Gunshot bullet wound to the head, car set on fire. They found a few on the east side, East St. Louis, or familiar with the
is there any way that you can get me a listing of these people so I can advance that to my partner? And then, other than that, how
about we do this? I'll get your contact information from True Powers, and I'll call you, because there's a lot of stuff about the whole Ferguson thing that I'd rather just not say on Earth.
I don't want you to say it. I don't want you to say it on the program. That's why I mentioned you. But the line went dead when I said we need to have a conversation offline. I couldn't hear you. You could not hear me. I'm not trying to get another person hurt. I understand that the conference of ministers there, or the council of clergy, work with the police to destroy the activists there. That little white lesbian one that has a little book about sex. Okay, I get it. I'm a preacher's kid. I see what you're up against. I also know that Barack Obama and them sent people down from the University of Chicago to get the people there killed. And my group that y'all need to know up in Chicago helped send people down to help fight off. But Black Lives Matter, that DeRay McKesson, the little sissy that wears the vest that looks like a monkey off the Planet of the Apes, you know, his boyfriend, I said it. He's boyfriends with one of the owners of Twitter. They put me off Twitter because I would go after him. You understand that Obama gave $7 million to a bunch of people in St. Louis to betray the rest of y'all.
No.
Okay, $7 million, and Hillary gave $19 million. They paid all this money to destroy y'all. And the people, like, I tried to meet the people. They wouldn't even talk to us. We're on a list. You could be a little person like me, and they tell people who they can speak to. I will say this to you. I'm going to send you, brother, an interview I did with a gentleman that was in Ferguson, whose name is Curtis Schoon. We made a film called Black, White, and Blue. I repeat, Black, White, and Blue. It's on Amazon Prime. And we're talking about what's going on. And in particular, I know I go in on Black Lives Matter. They hate me, and I hate them too. Quote me. And we've been fighting them for 4 years. And when I die, my soul will be fighting those coons.
Yeah, just their mission statement alone is it pretty much told me where they stood. And
if you see that film,
what's the mission statement?
If you see that film, they've been trying to block that film. They're trying to block this film, Black, White, and Blue. Even Charlemagne the God and these other people that are in it don't talk about a film they're in because Black Lives Matter has had people like me put off the radio, have me put out a Twitter, anybody that stands up to them. What's that guy, Sean Queen? I call him Malcolm X, the one that's not really black. Yeah, he made to look a fool running after this gay boy from Empire. All of these people are agents.
I'll say it, man. Sean King. We know who he's talking about.
Hold on, guys.
Yeah.
Hold on, guys. 1 second. For the TV viewers, I have the mission statement for Black Lives Matters. Black Lives Matters, BLM, is an international activist group originating in the African American community that campaigns against violence and systematic racism towards black people. What's wrong with that mission statement, guys?
That's not what he means. There's more to the mission statement, and they've revised it. You're reading the new one.
Right.
The old one that they've changed. Hold on. Let me say this. The mission statement changed after the documentary that came out February 7th last year, in which I denounced Black Lives Matter in the film Black, White, and Blue, and denounced their mission statement. Their national D.C. area folks saw that we had put up some of their bylaws and what they stand for, and they went back and they changed it so people can't look and find out what it's about. But if you saw the original thing, it said that their purpose was to use police brutality as a tactic to gain control over the Black community's movement and put the true soldiers, the real people who've done the fighting in the past, at the forefront, meaning transgenders, gays, and lesbians need to be made the leadership of the Black community.
What?
And that's the purpose of Black Lives Matter. They have since moved that from their site because we made them look like fools.
Everything he just said is correct, and there was nothing in that mission statement that directed or told anything about what the whole Black Lives movement was about, a Black man being killed by the cops. And in that original mission statement, it was no solutions about helping the Black male plight. It was all corporate paid feminist BS. And the doctors
and queer affirming, and they consider men and women forming families as heteronormative, something to be ashamed of.
Oh my God, guys, stop it! Just stop it! I want to talk from the point of view of the average American. What you guys had just said is mind blowing. What you two have just confirmed is mind blowing to the average American.
When you start messing with that, Ferguson, it's like opening up it's this whole Pandora's box by itself, the whole Ferguson thing. The whole Ferguson thing is, put it this way, if you really start researching the stuff behind Ferguson, you'll be like, I want to put this out here, but then you start thinking about Paul Farley, that goes to the head, strung up in your mom's backyard by a noose,
and other things being made to disappear, being taken to other states, being framed for crimes she didn't commit. They've done it all. People have to understand that Black Lives Matter is a government project, the Democratic Party project to hijack Black youth, the same way they had the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in the 1960s to bring Blacks and keep them in the Democratic Party under President Kennedy and then later Johnson. The people who started SNCC are dying. Julian Bond is dead. A lot of these people are dead. So in 2016, following the Democratic Party National Convention, all of the Black gays and lesbians and civil rights people declared that Black Lives Matter was the new torchbearer for our generation, and they would be the new leadership. They are the rulers of Black people. The boule put these lesbians over us without ever talking to us or having a vote.
Wow.
That's what we deal with. This is what the Democrats have done. The Republicans, like the one you talk about, Jesse Lee Peterson, asshole though he may be, he is not a shot caller in what happens in the Black community. He basically does anti-Black minstrelly for white folks' entertainment.
Right.
But these Black Democrats that have power, that have influence, have made these people our leaders. They've damned the next generations to legalize pedophilia and everything else. This is what.
Doctor,
this
I'm
is
sorry,
why you
once
don't
again,
see me as a
please
Democrat.
repeat that. Please repeat what you just said, what they just did.
They made, in 2016, Black Lives Matter, made them the new leadership for the next 50 years of Black people. This is what the Democrats, the Leadership Council for Civil Rights, the survivors of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the NAACP, and others all have made Black Lives Matter the voice, the face, the mind, and the soul of the Black movement. They are the successors to Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, not you and I.
And they have a homosexual agenda.
Yep.
Right.
And
But hold on, folks. The Democratic Party and the NAACP and all of them, I told you, through the Leadership Council, the Leadership Conference for Civil and Human Rights, they are the clearinghouse for all the civil rights groups in the country. They support full tilt, legalized sodomy, all of that. Everything you don't like, that is now the movement in the country, and they're the ones that dominate everything.
Doctor, please, if you have kids right now, just send them out of the room, guys. I'm so sorry. But would you please tell the young people the biological dangers of anal sex? Please, doctor, tell the young people.
Okay, let me try to do this real fast. One thing that people need to know is that sperm, if you ejaculate into someone's behind, it's immunosuppressive. The same way the sperm gets into the ovum that becomes the embryo, the egg, sperm has the ability to eat down cell matter. In other words, sperm is almost like a type of termite. When you put semen in a rectum, it eats up the cell walls of your anus. And by the way, it breaks down, it also kills the good bacteria that has your digestive system healthy. That's one thing. If you use a condom, the noxonil 9, a spermicide, become mini condoms, destroys the cell walls. The tissue inside your rectum, your asshole, if you like, is vascular tissue. It's rich in blood. When you break down the cell walls, it means it's easier for contamination to get into the bloodstream. There is the thing that is killing more black men in Washington, D.C. than AIDS is septicemia. That is blood poisoning. In other words, bowel movement and sperm byproducts and other things get into the blood and they kill people. And it's killing large numbers of people. The gay community will not tell you this.
Right.
Having sex in your rectum can cause what's called rosebudding in porn or rectal prolapse, where the lining of your inner rectum or your asshole falls out. It looks like a hot dog or a rose sticking out of your ass.
Oh, my God.
It's very expensive to have that put back together. On top of that, there is a new anal cancer that kills in about 2 years. It's almost incurable. They don't know what to do about it. Kamala Harris, press secretary, got anal cancer and died within 2 years. I think he was gay. I don't know, but I suspect he was. This stuff, there was a group called Threesome in Africa. It was a gay pop group. I think all of them died within 2 years of getting anal cancer.
Wow.
The anus, hemorrhoids could be caused. There's so many things. You can get meningitis from anal sex. You can get typhoid from anal sex. There are even cases where people are getting polio. You have to understand that your rectum is full of all sorts of poisons, toxins, and germs. When you have sex with someone, and that person, each time you have sex with a different person, depending on if they're sexually active, you have the germs from all the people that you slept with, whether you washed well or not.
Yes.
So a person that has 10 people that screw them in the behind, and they had sex with 10 people, then you have thousands of people's germ cultures in your behind. There are lots of parasites that kill people. Let me give you an example. In terms of anal cancer in general, not the one that kills in 2 or 3 years, there are other cancers. There is a cancer that, the anal cancer is 100 times more likely in homosexual men than any other group of men. 100 times. It can't be healthy. No. Let me go on to say to you, homosexuals are 20 times more likely to have superbugs. We're talking about flesh-eating bacteria. You put your penis in someone's behind, and your penis starts to get eaten up. Or you put your hand up there, and it bites off a finger over time. I'm not telling you how to live your life, but people need to understand that almost 90% of the syphilis in this country is had by gays, and gays are less than 5% of the population. How does such a small percentage of the population have almost the total amount of AIDS in the country? There is a strain of meningitis that is very deadly. That's why they're giving these meningitis B shots. It comes from anal sex. There's shingles. The shingles vaccinations that you think are from the chicken pox, it actually comes from people eating bowel movement, from eating doo-doo out or licking their fingers or whatever. When people have sex or rimming, there's a shingles epidemic all over this country. It can kill you. It causes blood blisters. It's an awful ailment. I know someone that had it. I have a friend's brother who had it. Shingles comes from eating doo-doo, folks.
Oh, preach, doctor, preach. Tell us the knowledge that causes us to die.
Now, when we on this whole subject, and I just wanna add on to some of the things you just said, because I feel like sometimes people don't understand that males are the carriers of these diseases. So when you catch a disease from a woman, she has slept with a man that has done some heinous acts with another man. Now, it doesn't matter what you do with your genitals or anything else. If you are born a man, a male, that means you has a fetus, regardless of what you turn that thing into, at the end of the day, you can grow boobs, you can slice your penis like a banana, you can change your name. You are biologically, you are a man. You're not a woman.
Not only are you a man or a woman, when you do get that surgery where you make your females, they tear up their vagina and they get something that looks like an albino snapping turtle for a penis that doesn't stand up. And the men that get their little fake vagina that's painful to have sex in, over 40% of them regret it. They hide the numbers, but as many as 1/3 of the people that get sex changes commit suicide.
Wow.
Why would anybody, if anybody on here that's gay, I don't want you to kill yourself. Why would anybody push someone in the direction where they'd have a 4 out of 10 times or more regret over the surgery, and out of that, 1 out of 3 take their own lives? I couldn't do that. I wouldn't want that. I don't want to take your life. I don't want to see you die. I don't want you to mutilate yourself. And yet, what they've convinced people is those of us who are warning people, we're the ones that hate, not the people that tell you to go out there and get all these dangerous diseases and mutilate your body. They love you, and we hate you. Look at the game they're playing with y'all young folks. They're playing y'all like ditches on the basketball court.
And Dr. Nussey, like even back with the whole Roger Stone thing, it's all about censorship. Like I think we came on a little bit after 4 o'clock. It's almost set Central Standard Time, and the information and the knowledge that you have gave the people that's watching on my channel and on TruePowerIsMine channel, you know, it's so valuable. Like, I'm going to go back and probably re-listen to the whole conversation and everything a couple of times, because that's what I normally do. But the sad thing about it is the information that you give is going to be suppressed.
Yes.
And it ties back to what, like with the whole thing with Roger Stone. And I made a video about Terry Turchi, former FBI director, assistant deputy director of the FBI, when he said that when he was in the FBI, their whole goal was to undermine people in the left. When I say the left, at that time, before he went in, what he described when he was on Fox News was the quarantine was COINTELPRO. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, all them guys were alive during when COINTELPRO was in operation.
COINTEL hasn't stopped, brother. COINTEL is going on.
No, I know it hasn't stopped. What I'm saying is, COINTELPRO supposedly had supposed to have been ended in 1971. Terry Turchi, former FBI assistant deputy director, he didn't even join the FBI until 1976. He said the whole time that he was there with the FBI was to undermine undermine lefties and real progressives in this country. So when you look at what they were doing before Quarantel ended in 71, who were the real progressives and who would be considered real progressives?
Hold on 1 second, guys. Hold on 1 second.
Like, can you hear me, Doctor?
Hold on. We got Mark from Anaheim on the line as well. Mark from Anaheim just called in.
What, are you doing a radio show?
Yeah, we're actually on the radio right now. You're live.
Well, that's my cue to leave, but I just wanted to thank you for bringing Molly Bell on, and I'll call you when you're not on the radio.
All right. My bad, Dimebag.
Okay. Doctor, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I lost my whole train of thought. But what I was saying is, who would be before Quantum Pro ended in 1971 when Terry Turkey said their whole objective because he was in the intelligence department of the FBI, was to undermine real people that they would consider progressive and real liberal. And that would be, you would consider people like, if you use in political terms, people like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, which both of these men were struck down whenever they brought in, because they started talking basically really about economics in this country. And I lost my train of thought when you did that, but
my bad.
No, it's fine. It's fine because it goes back to what about the whole suppression thing and all this stuff. It's a lot of information that you have like given out on been on Earth. And the bad thing about it is a lot of people that need this information, they're going to suppress. And I think that with the whole Alex Jones thing and what they're now doing with Roger Stone is just an example of what they would do with small little platforms like ours instead of giving people real information. Like, I don't give a shit how I feel about if I feel a certain way about a thing. If the truth is the truth, I can deal with it regardless of how I may feel personally. But when I see what they're doing with Roger Stone and what they did to Alex Jones, it's just an example of what they're doing in little microcosm in terms like this, because you are given a lot of information, some good information. I feel like if it wasn't for these shadow banging and censorship, more people can get this information and hopefully it can change their mind.
Well, I agree. They do want to silence people.
Yeah, because Terry Church went on Tucker Carlson's show and said their whole goal was to undermine left. So you're going to see more of these type of stories for us with the whole Mueller investigation and stuff. This stuff is like planning. You know, Roger Stone didn't seek out any more information that I found out when I went on WikiLeaks and read the whole Podesta email thing. The reason why they locked him up. But it's not the reason that they locked him up, it's how they did it. CNN was there before the FBI showed up, before they blocked off the man's house.
And they don't show you that they made the man twice stand outside almost naked.
Right. That
would have made people feel sorry for him. So you can't do that.
Right. And I'm not saying I agree with everything on Roger Stones, but I'm just trying to point this out. When it's people like Roger Stones, when people like me and TruePowerIsMine and other people in the new black media speak out on certain issues, I'm just using this as an example that we can become victims. pray because we're probably speaking against the agenda. Because only certain people in this country have, freedom to speak what they want to say.
I got a question for Dr. Short. This is from a listener, Albert. Ask Dr. Short, where can we find black, white, and blue documentaries on what platform?
Well, Black, White, and Blue is on Vimeo, Amazon Prime, I think IMDb.
Okay.
So for all y'all that got Amazon Prime, you order shit, be there 2 days later. If you got Amazon Prime, you can find the documentary. But you got the TV service that you got the Prime. So
well, it's free on Amazon Prime. If you have an Amazon Prime membership, it's free.
There you go. They know what I'm talking about, Doctor. We all know.
I mean, because we got the younger crowd, but there's still a couple old heads out there listening, and it doesn't behoove us to actually instruct the people how to find the resources we're talking about.
The other thing that people can do, and I don't mind if people email me directly, I would love to share this Equality Act information, the little bit that I have. So, I mean, I'm pretty easy to find. I'm Randy Short in Facebook. I'm Randy Lancaster Short in Facebook. I am Dr. Randy, W. Randy Short in LinkedIn. I am W. Randy Short in Yahoo. I'm W. Randy Short in Gmail. It's not hard to find me, and I don't mind sharing information. I don't understand people who treat information like it's coochie and they only want to give it to so many people. Everybody needs to know this. It's no joy for me that so few people know some of this. Right. That's quite distressing because I could know everything, and if my people don't know, if they're in ignorance, if they are not aware, then I'm vulnerable because they don't know, and they're vulnerable because they don't know.
Right. The scripture says we die from lack of knowledge. That's what's written.
Doctor, can you explain to the people that's listening, can you explain the difference between schooling and education?
Well, I want to do 3. I want to add something. Being conditioned or trained, being educated, and being schooled. I want to give you 3. You can be conditioned or trained, and that's one thing. You can be trained to be a doctor or nurse or an engineer or whatever, and have a profession, but it doesn't mean that you're educated. Okay? And you can be miseducated, or you're given bad information. Being schooled, I think you're using that in a counter, in a way that, like being woke, where people are truly given information that causes them to think. Most of what people get, there's a good book by a socialist, which is not bad, called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Freer. It's hard to spell, but it's called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. That's a nicer thing. How to teach broke down, busted people. And it's called banking, where, you get told Christopher Columbus did stuff, right?
Right.
Whatever they tell you. And memorization, they call that education. Being propagandized, being told something over and over again is the equivalent for many people of education, which is not. Like being told that Christopher Columbus was an Italian, but not being told that Christopher Columbus was a Marano or Converso Jew. He's a Jewish person funded by Jewish people who were conversos to come to the Americas. And he took Jewish people with him who started the slave trade, right? Of the black people that they met when they first came to the Americas that they called Indians. We don't get told that. We get told about the Queen Isabella coming up with the money, We're not told about the racial reconquista, where the black folks and the Jewish folks are being run out of Spain. We're not taught that. You get where I'm coming from. But so you can get this training, or you can be propagandized, or you can, and basically you vomit out or repeat or spit out information that you were given without being invited to inquire. True learning is continuous learning. It's asking questions. It's as well as people are encouraged to become self-learners or autodidact. Auto means self-taught. But some of the smartest people that ever lived, Malcolm X, Frederick Douglass, is self-taught. People, once you share with them how to read, they put the pieces together on their own. Some of the brightest people walking around are people that did not go to the university. If I told you I went to Howard, which I did, if you dared put anything that was Afrocentric in any of your papers, you wouldn't have finished that doctoral program. It didn't matter if your stuff was correct. You better not think that. You better not cite that person. You better not introduce that information if you think you're going to finish. In other words, at Howard, supposedly a black school, I knew never to put certain sorts of black people or certain folks down. If I wanted to impress people, it needed to be a German Jew like Durkheim or Max Weber. I need to say something about people that are European, even if it had nothing to do with what I was doing. That's education. That's learning. It's heavy. It's deep if it comes from Northern or Western Europe. Right, and that's really serious. If it comes from Africa or Asia, that's yawn. Okay? A lot of people are trained or they are miseducated, but very few people do what we're doing. We're looking at politics, religion, sociology, economics. We're bringing all this stuff together. You'll find that they have, how can I say, decentralized information. They used to teach economics, sociology, and all this stuff under history. And then they broke them up. So you can meet these economists when you listen to them on the news and you think they're complete jerks. They only talk about economics and they just talk about the free market, but they never use historical analysis. Never. If they use historical analysis and you have all these housing crises and clashes, this stuff repeats itself. It all has the same process. But those people know about these curves and they know about diminishing return and all that. They can give you the economic theory, but they have no practical connection to history or the political economy or other disciplines that would balance out what they know. But they can have a whole lot of information in one specific area. If you meet a lot of doctors, you'll find that they don't write too well. A lot of them don't know much other than what they do. I'm not mad at them because you need doctors.
Yes.
But I had friends that are doctors. They don't know a lick about history. They don't know a lick about anything other than what they do. I know dentists. They could tell you everything about your mouth, your teeth, why your breath stinks. But a lot of them don't know anything outside of their profession. And a lot of people are like that who only know they learn enough to do what society structured them to do. A lot of our young men are not pushed to learn how to read because they need those guys selling dope as narcotic street salesmen. They don't want them to learn how to read because they need someone to move that dope in the neighborhood. You can't have white folk walk through the black neighborhood selling crack and crystal meth and ice and fentanyl. You need that labor force. Let us be honest. So to sell this dope, which is probably the biggest business in the country, you need to have people who don't have any other economic option other than be on the streets. I don't think I've met very few people that I know that sold dope that necessarily liked it. They did it, many of them, because they had to, or that seemed to be the only thing that they could do. Wow.
You know what's so amazing, Doctor? I typed up for the TV viewers, German Jew. The first picture that popped up was Adolf Hitler. I just typed up dope dealer, and one of the first persons you would see is like a mixed race person on Google.
Yeah. But let us be clear. We all know that 95% of the money that's made from dope, if not more, goes to very wealthy white folks.
Yes.
And we need to be honest with ourselves that the Bush family's fortune comes out of dope dealing.
Hey,
True. Been selling dope a long time.
Hey, True. Stroll back up and click on the Milton McCarthy dude. That old photo looked like they had a bunch of coke on the table. Stroll back up and click on that.
Right now?
Yeah, where it's a photo of Milton McCarthy. He's sitting on somebody's on his thing. You already passed him up. He's in the left hand. If you're watching it on your screen, you got to scroll back up.
Oh, McCarthy? Milton McCarthy?
Yeah. The one with him is that narcotic.
Right there with the old guys. 1957. Press photo. Milton McCarthy, dope seller, user, drug addict. And then I'm like scrolling in on the face. He looks Italian. But they got a lot of dope down there on the ground.
They just trying to suck up. That's all.
This is sick. I mean, listen. Like the doctor said, dope is one of those things that they can target or not target. Cop pulls you over, you're a white guy. Oh, I let you off with a warning. A black kid, I'm prosecuting you to the full extent of the law. That's what a lot of those seatbelt laws, dope laws, gun control laws are there for. Because a cop, by law, doesn't have to arrest you, doesn't have to arrest you. They can let you off with a warning if it's in their prerogative to do so.
Right.
On any violation. So, that's where we need to be. Now, doctor, pertaining to the young people, if we stay on our present trajectory, where do you see us in 2025?
Ooh. We're talking about our people's plight.
Yes, black folks in America.
Hold just one moment, please. Just one moment.
Man, this is a great show. A lot of conversation, a lot of thought being provoked. This is what it's about.
I just hope people just take the information and, whatever you get out of it is valuable to you. Implement it where it benefits you in life.
Right.
Because other than that, and support, that's the guy to go home. Support black male media. Go to the Patreon. Hit up TruePowerIsMine on the Patreon. Become a patron. It does cost money to keep the lights on.
Yes, sir. Doctor,
see, numbers. I'm watching everything from the. I see everything. So go to that. If you want to contribute to Diamondback TV, I'll put the shit in the comments after the thing. My internet's been acting crazy, man.
Mine really. We just lost the doctor. Just dropped off. But honestly, guys, this has been 2 hours and 50 minutes, almost 3 hours.
Almost 3 hours, yeah.
I asked Doctor to come on for just like an hour, and he has totally superseded any rational expectation. Diamond, this is a great broadcast.
Before we go off the air, just let you know, don't disconnect with me when we go off the air, but I need to grab with you after we go off the air. But first of all, I just want to say, if you like the content,
hold on 1 second. Dr. Short's back. Hold on. Hello, Doctor. You here?
Please forgive me.
Oh.
I have another engagement that started 2 minutes ago. I lost track of the time, but we can do this again if you'd like.
Yes.
Or even if we do this even if it's just a conversation over a conference call between a handful of us. I do have a number that we can chat on.
No,
and forgive me, there was a question that got interrupted. There was a question that was interrupted by me hearing from the station. I want to try to answer that if possible, and we'll pick this up again.
Yeah, Doctor. Seriously.
Oh, I remember the question. The question was 35 years from now, or 20, 15 years from now. Look, we're not the only group in decline, and I'm doing something that I rarely do. Normally, when I talk to black folks about things, they start talking and comparing us to other people. I don't like doing that, but in this instance, I'm going to do it for a different reason. No matter whether people are willing to recognize it or not, the situation that white America finds itself in is far from admirable. And far more people are dying from opioids. Do you know that roughly 100,000 white females die every year from alcohol? I'm talking about young white women.
No.
Alcohol poisoning.
No.
Maybe almost 100,000. You know that this opioid is killing far more people than what they're saying, and it's primarily white. If we have an economic downturn, which is inevitable, with all this marijuana that's being smoked, and it's a gateway drug, when people start to feel like some of us have felt, you're going to see a spike in death among whites. Not that I want that, but that's likely to happen. If you're used to getting $600,000 or six-figure jobs, when other people are getting seven-figure jobs, and all of a sudden you're plunged down to that, I don't see white Americans as being prepared to be downsized to being white niggers. They're not prepared. They're not prepared for it. And there's but so many black folks that you can mass murder and shoot at malls and such before folks start shooting back at them. So I think that the sorrows will be spread far and wide. You see all of this gentrification in places like Washington and the new shiny cars that you feel sorry that you can't get. These people are getting these on subprime loans for cars and for houses. The very thing that bankrupted black people, that's what's been driving the home purchases. When these folks lose everything, you're going to see suicide, which has been going to the ceiling. Most people forget that the lifespan for white males in this country has dropped 8 years in the last 10 years, if not more. White men, if we continue at this trend, are going to have a lifespan shorter than black men in 10 years. And the lifespan for poor whites is dropping faster than black people who have the greatest health disparity. So they're hurting. The divorce, the white family, for the struggling white folks is about gone. It's in the same place that the black family is. And this has been going on for well over a quarter of a century. Most people do not know that white high school dropouts and folks who just barely get out of high school have rates of illegitimacy comparable to that of blacks. And they have jobs, and we don't. Let those jobs go. Do you think they'll do any better? Do you think people who are privileged to have more will handle having less?
No.
I don't think so. So this is going to be a very painful period if this country does not turn around. And demographically, this country is less white than what people want to tell us. They'll keep telling you Washington, D.C. is predominantly white. It's not true. Blacks are still the largest group. In Chicago, blacks are still the largest group.
They could push people all around. And the other thing is this DNA, where people are discovering. I have white relatives in Florida. Someone went and passed for white and moved down south a long time ago. All these people finding out that they're not really white people. There are lots of us. Millions and millions of people know that they aren't white. If folks talk about having a race war and they're going to use DNA information to hunt people down, you're talking about maybe 120 million people going to have to fight for their lives, whether they look black or not.
Right. Well, I already showed Dr. Earlier this afternoon a special report where there's a demographic showing the American population by the year 2025 will be at 100 million. So that's 3/4 of us gone.
I don't think that that's going to happen. But I do think that the demographic in the country is changing, maybe not for the better, but you know what? Part of what made America great was the presence of black folk. These people keep talking about making America great again, but they ignore what made it great. So I don't think that America is necessarily going to fall off a cliff. I think that America, the same America that mass incarcerates and steals patents, like my cousin wrote the screenplays that became the film Avatar that's made $7 billion, and my cousin hasn't gotten a penny. Or my other associate that wrote The Terminator and The Matrix, that was stolen from another black person who's made billions. American whites have always stolen and gotten the benefit of people that they never wanted to pay, right? That's what's made America great. They didn't pay for the land. They didn't pay for the labor. That's what made America great, is that they were able to get something for nothing, and use the gun to keep the system working. The world is changing, and no disrespect, in the year 2035, it's going to be a very different place to be white in the world. Today, out of all the babies born, if 100 babies were born, 60 of them or more were black. 60, maybe 65. So once you realize that out of 100 babies in the world born, Africa's going to have a significant amount of the world's population, Latin America. Something's going to change. The numbers are going to demand a new deal for our people. We have to be prepared for it. If we're so broke down and we all have to be fagged out, diked out, sold out, we're not honest with white people about what we want, what we must have, and what we will get. We have to stop being the engines of our own oppression, giving our money to people who hate our guts, not supporting one another, not respecting one another, not coming together when we can. We've got to have a major change of heart. What I do believe is going to happen among black people that's positive is we're going to rediscover God. We're going to need him. I've got to go, gentlemen. I've got to go.
Doctor, I don't mean to cut you off. Are you there, Doctor?
He's still there.
I can't hear him.
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm preparing for the program. They're waiting.
I'll make it really short. I know you got to go. I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. I know things might have seemed a little rough at the beginning, but I really appreciate the information that you gave the audience. And it was a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show, the platform, the other morning show, Random BS, special report. You can come on anytime you want. I just want to thank you personally for coming on and sharing the information that you have, because we can only give the people so much BS. But I just want to say thank you and appreciate you coming on the show, man.
And I want you to send me an email, because there's some other people. I need you to talk to my sister that can talk about Haiti and Roger Stone.
I need to. What I'm going to do is, what I'm going to do when we go off, I'm going to get with TruePower, and I'm going to get your information, and I will contact you, because there's some things that we need to talk about that we can't do on Earth.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Doctor, once again. Please go and take care of your business. This has been the Other Morning Show. True Power is Mine. I just want to say thank you for all the participants. Thank you for the listeners. And together, we are stronger. Peace.